the same moon, we share the love. Embracing the differences like hand in glove. Spreading peace and joy, it's a beautiful sight. Together we shine in each other's light. United we stand in love's pure might. Watching the world share in love and light. Hearts beating as one in our peaceful flight. Colors of harmony painting the night. I feel the united we stand in love's pure might.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to Watching the World. Today, we're going to just have an open discussion to talk about a few of the cases, especially for those of you that I promised that I would be talking about Nancy Guthrie. Tonight, I have a new, interesting twist on this particular case. So for those of you that really follow that case, we could talk about it. The reason why I'm doing this is because usually we try to have great shows, and I have on professionals like criminal defense attorney Calvin Johnson, Mama Flips, Candace Kelly, and so many great people. But while we have the shows, oftentimes we have people that come on that are typically just trying to disrupt. So now we can have a open discussion in regards to some of these cases that are happening. So first off, I want to start off by talking about Nolan, because tonight when we had our show, I noticed that some individuals were just trying to make it about race. All right. So I want to make it very clear that when it comes to Nolan Wells' case, it's not really a case about race, at least from the standpoint of Watching the World. Typically, everything involves race, right? And if you don't think so, then you're only deceiving yourself with false reasoning. But as far as just trying to push it as a racial case or race baiting narrative or something like that, that is definitely not our position. So let's get that clear. We're going to talk about any case you guys want to talk about. I dropped the link. So for all of the people that have been saying all of this stuff in the chat for the last couple of weeks, I couldn't really address it. So tonight, the link is there. All you have to do is click on the link and you can come up and we can have a discussion. All right. So come on up and let's have a discussion about whatever it is that you want to talk about. If you want to talk about anything under the sun, but as far as keeping the show going, first I want to talk about Nancy Guthrie. I don't know how many of you actually follow that case. We're going to get to Nolan. We're going to talk about Karmelo Anthony. Karmelo Anthony seems to be a case that a lot of people can't seem to wrap their head around or seem to get over. So we're going to talk about Karmelo Anthony. If you would like to come up and talk to me about whatever it is, now is the time. All right. But I want to show you guys some things about Nancy Guthrie's case, because that case has really been on my mind lately. Then we'll move on. We also talk about President Trump. Where are all the Trump supporters at? Now's your time to come up and let's have a discussion. Or if you want to talk about Democrats, whatever it is. But in the meantime, I want to give you guys a different spin on Nancy Guthrie. If you're watching, put a 1 in the chat if you're familiar with Nancy Guthrie before we get started. Let's see how many people here have even heard of her case. Her daughter, name is Savannah, who I've met here in New York. She works for the Today Show, but her mother was kidnapped on February the 1st of this year. So are you familiar with the case? If so, put a 1 in the chat. For some reason, I was out there for 2 weeks, and that case has not been solved. In fact, about 2 days ago, I think it was the 6-month anniversary. And what's so unique about her case is this. They can't seem to get anybody to pinpoint who the person was that showed up at her door. Today, I'm going to show you a different theory about the case. That's if we get enough people that are familiar with the case. So I won't get into it unless I get more ones, because I'm assuming now that a lot of people that are viewing this are not familiar with her case and there's no reason to break it down, you would have to have some understanding about the case to understand what I want to get into today to show you what possibly could have happened in regards to her case, because quite frankly, you don't know. Thank you, Mustang, for dropping in to show your expression. Okay, Melba is familiar with the case. We only have two people that are familiar with Nancy Guthrie's case. I'm so shocked of that, right? Just two people. All right. Perhaps we'll go back to that story a little bit later if we don't have many people that are familiar with her case. Okay, all right, people are starting to pipe up. I've heard about it, but I've not followed it, okay? So I'll give you a little backdrop before I tell you what I think could have happened in this case, okay? First off, on okay, so now people are starting to pipe up. Okay, thank you guys very much. So tonight I'm going to break down my theory on that. If you want to just hit the link and come up and have a discussion with me about any of these cases, then feel free to hit the link. I'll stop what I'm doing just to entertain whatever your questions are. If you want to come in and say whatever you have to say. Nancy Guthrie, around, I think it was maybe 1:48 in the morning of the sort. I guess that's the first time that a person appeared on her. Let's see, she didn't have the ring. She had, I forget the exact camera that she had, the Nest camera. And so we're going to get to the video, but a man showed up on her front door camera, and basically he had his face completely covered, and he was also wearing gloves. Remember that? And actually, anybody that followed this channel for quite some time, you know, I went out to the house. Okay. Now we're going to break this down and we're going to have a discussion. I'm going to give you my viewpoint as to why I think no one has come forward for $1.2 million. Can you imagine that? $1.2 million. And you don't have one person saying, hey, this person looks awfully familiar to me. Okay. I think there's a reason for that. Now, I could be wrong, but it's just a theory that I'm going to present. Now, while out there was some things that I had heard before it even came out in the media. One of the things that I heard while I was boots on the ground is that the fog light in the back of her home was broken. Okay. Another rumor that I heard, but I have not seen it with the police or the FBI as yet, but they said a lamp was potentially broken just inside her door. Okay. So that's the only thing that I heard boots on the ground that I haven't seen come through in the media. Remember, I was one of the first individuals to tell you that the blood outside the door was pretty much consistent on the inside of the door. And I learned that while being boots on the ground at Nancy Guthrie's home. But here's the thing. The night before, in which I don't quite understand, I understand that she went to her daughter Annie's home and also the son-in-law Tommaso, I guess to have a family event. And according to what we know so far, she took a Uber to get there, but we never really did receive any solid information about the Uber, although it was not debated pretty much from law enforcement, so we assume that it really happened. One thing for sure is that she was dropped off. Well, we can't even say that. I could say this for sure. At 9:48, her garage door went up, and 2 minutes later, it came down. Now that's shocking to me because, as we know right now, Tommaso, her son-in-law, was the person that dropped her off at that time. The question, though, is how did he drop her off? Remember when I was out there, boots on the ground, I showed you there was a camera on her, I think it's a guest house. So in order to drop her off, based on everything that I know from being there and really paying attention, when you drive up into the driveway, you have to go to the side of the house to get to her garage. Okay. And there's a camera right there that would record her being dropped off by anyone, not only her son-in-law. Another thing that I noticed when I was there, it looked like someone would consistently pick her up and drop her off. And it's almost, if you look at the tracks in the driveway, it looks like the person, usually we tend, to be creatures of habit, but the person would just pull in just beyond the garage and then back out and drive out. So that was something that you could possibly even research online. So the day that this occurred, the question is, did the son-in-law drop her off inside the garage, or did he let her out right in the gravel? So that would be a very important question to have answered, right? All we know is that the garage door went up for 2 minutes, up and down. Now you think about it. I spoke to some of the neighbors while I was there, and it really dispelled some of the rumors that I had actually heard. Number one, when I went to her home, I thought for sure people would always lock their doors, right? You know what the neighbors told me? One of the neighbors said that Nancy Guthrie would often leave her doors unlocked. I said, wow, what do you mean? Yeah, that's what the neighbor said. She says, yeah, and also my parents who lived in this neighborhood, this individual she walked through with her husband. I actually recorded it live, by the way. But she said that they lived there 50 years, 50 years. And her father had passed away, but the mother is currently in a home. Well, this was back in February. I think I was out there maybe in April. So at least until April, this is the story of this individual, right? But you know what she said? They never locked the garage doors. 50 years. And the neighbors knew that they could go inside the home. I'm like, what in the world? I'm in New York. Who leaves their doors unlocked? Okay. So I started to hear a lot of that chatter, and I said, wow, I just find that hard to believe that Nancy Guthrie could potentially left her door unlocked. That has not been confirmed. I don't know if you guys remember, but I've been covering this case, even though I haven't been talking about it. But one of the key things that the sheriff retracted, initially he said forced entry. And one of the local reporters asked him the second day and said, so, basically, what do you mean by forced entry? He backtracked and he wouldn't commit to saying again that it was forced entry. Now, when this person walks up to the door, I want you to really think about it. I know a lot of you may not be familiar with the case, but we're going to push through it anyway. You have to wonder, how is it? I mean, listen, it's the person has their face covered. The feds became involved in this case 4 days in, and that's why you have the director coming forward, Kash Patel, saying, listen, had we been called on day one or from the beginning of the case, we probably would have had more video. Even though her daughter, Savannah, is such a big time anchor, reporter, whatever way you want to frame it, right? On the top news show, probably in the world, who would have thought that her mother would have had a Nest camera with no subscription, or at least the subscription had expired? So I want you to really think about this. This individual came to her home, a person that we cannot identify, even though there's 1.2 million on the table. Tomorrow night, we're going to go through the letters, the ransom letters. I'm going to show you the first letter, in my opinion, is written to Savannah, right? The second one, I believe, is written for the other daughter. This is just my opinion. So, what does that mean? Well, if you go and you check out the letters, which we will look at it tomorrow night, you'll get a chance to see why I have that position. Think about it. If somebody was to kidnap a person, why would they apologize? Why would they try to put the family at ease, right? It almost make you think that someone was really close to Nancy that actually pulled this off, right? I want to show you guys something. And again, we don't know who did this, right? We don't know the whole purpose about what happened to Nancy Guthrie. But I want to show you a theory, right? I already did the theory and I showed you how perhaps this person did it for the Bitcoin. But tonight I want to show you something else that happened here in New York recently. And I think it could have happened for Nancy Guthrie case. I haven't heard anybody go down this road, but I'm going to go down this road tonight. I'm going to show you this video.
I feel the years in my step these days. My body don't move like it used to be.
I didn't want to play the sound because I'll probably get trouble for that. But I want you guys to pay attention how these masks. Now we know the person had on a mask, right, from the exterior. But could the person have been wearing one of these prosthetic masks? I want to play this out. I wish I had pulled the sound off. Anyway, let's go.
Some mornings take a little more time to start.
This is very common now in New York. People are committing crimes, and it's not just New York, but it's also in other places around the world. So remember when it came to Nancy Guthrie, there's a particular angle that when I watched the video, I said, it looked like the person has on a fake mustache. It's when the person is actually approaching the door. When you look at the frame, it looks like they have fake mustache, right? And now I didn't think about this right away, but then I saw a case the other day and I said, you know what? What if the person is someone close to Nancy and maybe they double mask? Some people have said, oh, the person has on a double mask, right? We've heard that. But maybe they had on a prosthetic mask. That's why nobody can figure out who it is. And maybe on top of that, okay? Now, the person that shows up at her door has a very distinct quality. Anybody that has had surgery before, you would notice that one shoulder is higher than the other. It's like this. Go back and watch the video. I'm going to break it down tomorrow night. But the person walks around. When they come around the corner, you'll notice that shoulder is high, but the other shoulder is low. It's almost like they can't even control it, right? There is another video, and I don't want to point fingers at people, but I noticed someone else prominent in this case that has that same feature. It's a man, and in the video, he actually, I won't say who it is, but the video, one of the videos that I saw, you can't break it down because he has both of his arms elevated. I said, why does a guy have both of his arms elevated? Right? Now, that's all I'm going to say about it for now. But could this be a little bit more intriguing than most of us would imagine? I want you to think about this. And this is, I'm going to give you so many different reasons. Number one, when I was at Nancy Guthrie's home, I had this weird feeling because everybody was just talking about how lucky that this individual must have been in order to pull this off as a stranger, right? Now, I do get January the 11th. I understand all of that. I've covered this case. Even though I've been covering other cases, I always stay in tune. But here's the thing about Nancy Guthrie's case. Her dog allegedly died back in December. Okay? Imagine the difference a dog would have made in this case, right? She probably would have been alerted on January the 11th if that's when the person came the first time. Okay? You also have to say the person is so lucky, right? You know why? If they came on January the 11th, neither Nancy or her family was able to detect that the actual person that would take her and potentially take her life, that no one even noticed. Another big issue when it comes to Nancy Guthrie's case, they say the person is so comfortable. It's almost so eerie, like they're not even worried about being caught, right? You would have to imagine that the person knows way more than the average Joe in regards to her life and her habits, right? Think about the night she went out with her family. Now, this is the magical night that they were able to take her. She's dropped off and allegedly she don't take her 10 o'clock medication. Think about that. Why wouldn't she have taken her 10 o'clock medication? Remember, the sheriff said that she can't go basically 24 hours without her medication. So she missed her 10 o'clock. We do know that the individual shows up on the camera at 1:48 or something like that, and maybe at 2:12. There's a debate going, but somewhere in that time frame, at 1:48, they say that the camera is disconnected, right? And then at 2:12, I believe, or something like that, the person shows up on the camera. So you have to wonder, how is it that the person was able to get access to her home? The only thing that we know as far as the entry, it has been revealed that the back door and I believe the gate was propped open, maybe even by a plant, right? Have you guys heard about that? I'm going to get to the comments in 1 second and we're going to get through this. Thank you guys. I see your comments. I'm going to get to it. But think about this. When it first happened, I don't think a lot of people gave a lot of attention to the fact that one of the daughters had given allegedly the escape route that the person may have driven to take Nancy Guthrie away. What does that mean? And was that probed deeper? When the case first started, remember a very prominent YouTuber came out and she said that some of the family was the prime suspect. Now, I'm just going back through memory lane. I'm not accusing anyone, but I'm just jogging your memory for some of these loose facts that were floating in regards to her case. So now we're starting to see that this person has to be extremely lucky. She has no subscription to be able to log the things that are happening. My question is, I understand the front door, right? Earlier on, when I was there, boots on the ground, they said there were cameras inside the home, potentially, and we were waiting to perhaps find out about the recordings. These are some of the rumors floating around. But again, she had the cameras on the exterior, and we can't even show when her son in law was dropping her off, right? If you were able to get the front door, just as Cash Patel said, because of the cycle, it looks like they were able to go back and get January the 11th. How did they get that steel frame? Did that come from a video? So why can't we see the video of the son-in-law dropping her off to confirm that's her last, sighting other than this individual showing up to her front door, right? There's so much with this case, it's just hard to believe that we've gotten basically nowhere. Remember, they had a glove, and I think while I was out there, the glove was a big point of contention. That went on for like maybe 27 days, and then we found out the glove, was not a big deal. It had nothing really to do with some guy working at a restaurant. They didn't give us a whole scoop, but we lost a lot of time on that. Then, when the hair, this loose hair that they found allegedly to get the DNA, and everybody was so hype about that. And then we were to find out what? There's no root to the hair. You see how lucky this person is getting? See, the reason why I think there's no DNA is because the person involved potentially was supposed to be there. Now, I can't say that. I'm not accusing anyone. But think about that. If a person's supposed to be there, then the DNA would make sense. They can't find any. The guy had a bite camera in his mouth. Have you ever had something in your mouth, like a camera working on a car or something like that? I mean, a flashlight, a screwdriver, whatever you're working, and maybe some people tend, a lot of mechanics do things like that. In fact, a lot of mechanics use that bite light. It's going to cause you to drool. They don't have anything. Or maybe the DNA that's there is because the person responsible, now we don't know this, but it could be possible. That's the reason why you're not getting any strange DNA. A lot of this, one of the things that I heard while I was out in Tucson, Arizona, is that it seemed like everything in this case was staged, right? And you have to wonder, what does that mean in regards to her case? The back door being left wide open all the way to the gate. The person shows up at the front door, right on the camera. Doesn't really add up. And we remember what a lot of people were saying in regards to, oh, the person, maybe they have mental problems. That's why they seem so cool. Then people say, oh, the person might be on drugs. That's why they're so calm and cool. But it could be that the person had more control or involvement in Nancy's life too. I'm just throwing that out there. If you already had access to her camera, then you know everything is coming to you. Or if you had something to do, perhaps with her not uh, having her subscription, you know what I mean? Then you have more control. We don't know, obviously, who did this, right? But I'm just saying there's just so much to unpack when it comes to Nancy Guthrie's case. One thing that I noticed in this case, while I was there, boots on the ground, they tried to detect her pacemaker in her heart, right? Because after you expire, even if you die, they say your pacemaker continues to live on, so to speak, right? And that's why they put those. I heard now they have 15-year batteries, right? Someone said that in the comments. I didn't research it. I do know that if you have a neural stimulator in your back, the battery goes out 7 years, 8 years, easy. But when the battery dies, you have to have surgery to replace it. And it's a similar concept with the pacemaker. So they came up with the brilliant idea. And this is something I noticed that bothered me when I was there. They said, well, let's put up a Bluetooth sniffer, right? Let's put up a sniffer in the air, and maybe that will detect her pacemaker, right? Remember that? And you know what came out the very next day? All of a sudden, somebody starts saying she was seen in Mexico. It's almost like every time certain people were trying to, the feds or the local police were trying to close in, it seems like the letters, the ransom letters, would just steer them away. And it made me wonder, is there someone locally that's trying to send the police on a wild goose chase, right? Another thing that I discovered is that a lot of people thought that she left out through the front door because of the way the blood was dripping. Remember that? While I was there, I was able to see a lot. And I remember they even had a card up at the door in regards to elder abuse or something like that. So I was able to see a lot. I was able to also see her storm door, that it's powerful. You can't, I didn't see any scratches. I have some background. I know about construction and whatnot. But the door was not bent from what I could see because her house is not that far from the road. I didn't see any scratches or what have you. But it made me wonder because I followed her blood drips. And guess what? It did not lead to the driveway. When you walk out of Nancy Guthrie's home, she has a little porch area. And then as you walk out, the blood drips went to the right. It did not go to the driveway. So you have to wonder why. And why, until this day, they don't have any vehicle. When I get to the letters is really going to help you to understand that this was never about kidnapping. I don't think kidnapping should even have been brought to the fore. And I think that's the reason why this case has not gone anywhere. And I think whoever did this used the kidnapping and it worked. It worked, right? Because when the ransom letters came out, it took all the attention away from the individual that probably did it. That's just the truth. Everybody was looking for this ransom and money. But that second letter told you it was never really about money. See, the first letter was for Savannah to let her know it's because of you. You know, Savannah, you did this. But then that second letter was to say, hey, family, I know this happened, but her heart failed. She went in peace, kind of a deal. Like, think about that. What criminal outside of a family would do that? You think a guy out here looking to kidnap somebody is going to tell him, oh, I'm sorry? You know, it's very interesting, just to say the least, right? I'm going to get to a few of the comments before we move on. The link is there if anybody would like to come up and join the discussion. But so far, we're just focusing on Nancy Guthrie. All right. It's quite intriguing, to say the least, how this case is still open and it doesn't appear to be any clue in sight, right? I think last week is the first time I've heard individuals call it a cold case. You know what else I learned from this case? You see all of these individuals coming on the big networks. One used to be a FBI profiler. The other one used to run the FBI department. And then they'll line up like 10 different profilers. They all come up with a different scenario. Like, this case has really opened my mind to how vulnerable everybody is. You would think that the government, of all people that can, they're tied to the military, we have some of the best weapons in the world. And you mean to tell me they can't figure out a Bitcoin account or how to track it? We have no clue. Remember, we started off, I think the name of was it a Circle K? Maybe somebody could put it in the chat. What was the gas station that was a big item when this case first started? And there was a suspicious vehicle, but we never heard anything more about that, right? When I was actually there, boots on the ground, there were individuals that had cameras, Ring cameras, and so forth. So I don't understand why they don't have a vehicle to trace, not one, right? Have you thought about that? Why is it we're this far out, 6 months, and they don't even have a vehicle, a description? And we're talking about the federal government, right? The FBI. When I first saw this case and the way that the media had laid out her house from the road, it made it seem like her front door would be so far from the road. And that even if you had a camera, if a car rode by, it would just be so far away, you wouldn't be able to determine anything about the car. Or maybe you would just get a glimpse of the lights. But after going to her house and standing right in front of her driveway, I began to realize that she's right by the road. Much different than what was portrayed by the media. Another thing that I noticed while being there is that maybe twice a day, the local sheriff department, they would they had 24-hour surveillance, right? And so they would change, I believe, every 8 hours. But when the sheriff would drive in on the driveway, it would be so loud. You could just hear the gravel grinding, very loud. In fact, some of us, we stayed in compliance with the ordinance, right? But we were allowed to walk a little bit on the gravel right by the edge of her driveway. Even walking on the gravel, it was extremely loud. So, what a person is that the reason why, if you follow the blood trail in the photos and videos, the person does not lead to the gravel driveway. In fact, they cut off to the right. What's interesting is that the person actually came in on the left side, right? Remember that in the video, he's coming from the left, but her blood trails lead right across in the opposite direction. What does that mean? If you're trying to sustain a person's life, would you start off with any sort of injury? Well, that injury may not have been intentional. Looking back at some of her older photos, you could see her hand was similar to the president's, to where you could see some bruising. Remember all the discussions we've seen about the president. But you could actually see that with Nancy Guthrie. You could also see the white watch. If you go back when she was on the Today Show, you could see her white Apple Watch. Some people say, well, maybe the individual just took a lucky guess and they just went back and they saw the photo and they said, well, she had on a white Apple Watch. Let's put that into the ransom note. Well, how would they explain that the Apple Watch was on the floor at the foot of the bed or something of the sort? That's getting awfully lucky, right? We keep talking about how this person, either they knew her well or they're the luckiest person, right? There's just so much that fell in their favor. What if she didn't return at that time or maybe that night she did a sleepover, you know? There's just so much with this case that seems to be a little eerie when it comes to who may have done it, right? I'm going to get to some of the comments now. But again, if you'd like to join the discussion, feel free to come up. The next topic will be Nolan Wells. But let's see here. All right. Bear says, chase the case. This is just another case. Nothing special. So Nancy Guthrie is nothing special. Okay, I get it. Motley says, what's up? Shout out to you, Motley. Good to see you back. Good to see you. All right. Local says, yellow brick road. Absolutely. Okay, so we have a question here. Why do they make these kinds of masks? It's sinister. That's a good question, right? But some of them are so accurate, but it's really making it hard for individuals to be caught. And we have to think on every different level when it comes to this case, because typically, now, when it comes to the government, they have ways of biometric. Listen, every time you go to the airport and you go to all these places, they're scanning your eyes, every different place, right? So you would only imagine that could be valid. Okay, Georgia says broken collarbone after heel shoulder droops. Very good point. And if you do your research, you'll start to see perhaps there were individuals within her circle that had similar traits, okay? Nancy Howard says, I don't think it was a stranger. Okay. All right. That's a good point. All right. We have Selah. Shalom to you. Shout out to you. Thank you. All right. God Mind says, burglar, unalive my dog. Wow. So you think perhaps that, well, they would have to go back and make a determination as to whether her dog died from, if that's what you're saying, whether her dog died from old age or whatever it is. It's definitely intriguing to say the least. M. Wallen says, hi, Mel. I was officially one of the people who thought she never came home. All right, I don't know what to think anymore. Here's the thing. When you think about her not coming home, you would then have to explain her pacemaker being inside of her heart, right? Okay. Inside her body. She also had on her watch. And more than likely, especially if she took a Uber, she would have had her cell phone. So her not coming home, you would have to explain a genius way for those three items to be operating in accordance with her heartbeat and her body. You see what I'm saying? So that's where it gets a little bit sketchy, but I do understand your point. I've heard that so many times. And Wallen says, right, they rule out people that are supposed to be there. All right, we have Jeff in the building. Thank you, Jeff. Jeff says, Nanos dropped the ball. So you think the sheriff did a lousy job in this case? I think a lot of people feel that way, Jeff. Thank you for sharing your thought. And thank you, M. Wallen, for all you do. Mustang says, is someone close to the family, in my opinion, a female? Very likely. Or I was thinking maybe a couple, right? Or it could have been that the first letter is more of the male point of view, and the second letter is more of a female point of view. Okay? So that's something to definitely think about. But when this case first started, remember everybody saw the eyebrows, right? And they said, oh, that looks like a female because of how it all looked, right? So it's something to think about. And Wallen says, someone said she ran away with an internet lover. Oh my goodness. I've heard it all. I have heard that similar to it. I've also heard the conspiracy that maybe she was in on it. People are saying maybe the daughter in her job was having some issues. So it was a whole family plot. You know, you hear so many different scenarios when it comes to it. But I think a good detective would look at everything that's said, right? Okay, Jeff says back door was propped open. Yes. I heard it was with the flower pots. Okay. Texas mom says into the desert. That's what I think. I think it was more of a hit, and I don't think a car was involved initially. And I think that's the reason why you don't have a vehicle being shown in any form of fashion that we know of thus far. So that's a very good point, Texas mom. If you go back to the very first press release right on her front lawn with Sheriff Nanos, basically they called everything off after the first night, remember? And I just have to wonder, how extensively did they cover her case with the dogs? And they thought it was a walk off, so what did they use at that time to really pin her down to try to find where she was located? That would be my big question. Okay. Shout out to you. Is it Shay Shay? Okay. Thank you. God Mind says no. I'm not sure what the no was for, but thank you. Golden says no mechanics use a bite light. They use a headlamp. There's a reason bite lights are not readily available at hardware stores, auto stores, because there's no demand for them. I would have to disagree. Definitely in New York, that's a thing. All right, Golden says only people who might use a bite light is a stage hand for a live theater production when you need ability to turn on and off the flashlight while still using your hands. Well, that might be a good lead, right? Thank you for your comment. Maybe the person could be associated in that way. Okay, we have Ant-Man Tony says, I've never loved a man that wasn't a family member. Okay. Thank you for your comment. Godmind says, I was thinking that her family or somebody close to her would be involved from the beginning. Yeah, when you look at the statistics, then you start to realize like how many people over 80 and female, and they have a ransom letter, but then they say, hey, oh, she passed away, by the way. So what does that mean, right? Like, who would really do that unless the ransom letter is just a ploy, a diversion to take attention away from somebody else who would be more involved? Okay, and we don't know. We're just having a discussion tonight. If you have any questions about any of the cases that we've been covering, feel free to jump right in. Golden Quinn says video from the second day shows all her blinds open. Same on today's show. Someone could have easily flown a drone by the window and seen and watched on the floor. Wow, that's a good point. I'll have to star that and look into that further. That's a good point. Wow. Thank you for sharing that. Shout out to New Jersey, and I'm glad you're feeling better. Okay, thank you, Jeff, for all you do. And thanks for looking out for New Jersey and my good family. M. Wallen says, I hate that they are still free. All right. Yes, but based on the information, the feds have never really cleared anyone. I think it has been the local sheriff. So maybe they still have their eyes on someone, right? Maybe that's why they're not putting out so much information. Shout out to Empress. Good to see you. All right. Mustang says, yeah, the eyes. Very important. If you look at the eyes of the individual in the frame, you'll notice they don't match up. And if you look at the prosthetic mask that I showed tonight, you'll see that it has that sort of effect when you put it on. And also, I want you to notice which would be that person's left eye. Right here, you see almost an issue. And makes you wonder what's causing. It's almost like a puckle here, right? I want you to go back and look at that. We have to keep moving or else I would get into it deeper. We will get into the letters tomorrow night. Okay. We have Georgina says Patel should override HIPAA and get medical history of suspects. Good point. They probably have the ability to do that. Jeff says we have the most sophisticated technology in the world, yet we have these cases that are not solved. I don't get it. That's a very good point. And some of these cases that happen, well, New York is different though. It seems to me that when something happens in New York, it tends to be solved quickly. All right. Okay. Stitching. M. Wallen says stitching. Okay. Thank you. All right. M. Wallen says, would a car mechanic use a bite light? I believe so. All right, guys. Thank you. Tomorrow night, we're going to do a deep dive in regards to Nancy Guthrie. And we're going to pull up those ransom letters. And I have a expert coming on the show to break down the case at a higher level. I want to welcome back New Jerseyan. And I thank you for all you do and being one of our great mods for the show. I know last week was a tough week for you, but it's good to see you're back at it. It makes my heart rejoice. All right, guys. The next thing I want to talk about is Nolan Wells. Put a 1 in the chat if you think something nefarious, someone actually harmed Nolan Wells. Put a 2 if you think it was a accidental drowning. Let's see what you guys have to say. Do you think someone did something to Nolan Wells, or do you think it was accidental? Okay, wow. Okay, we only have one person that thinks so far it was accidental. Okay, let's see. And Wallen says, okay, you're still talking about that. This is in regards to Nancy Guthrie. He says, I said the Eyebrows not showing that is the stitching around the eye hole mask. Okay. Thank you very much for all you do. I really do appreciate it. And thank you, Motley. All right. So King says nefarious. Someone did something. Motley thinks so. Godmind thinks so. Georgina thinks so. Okay. New Jerseyan thinks he accidentally drowned. Thank you. Okay. Empress thinks that something nefarious happened to him. Okay. Bob Mitch thinks he accidentally drowned. Okay. M. Wallen says, and covered up the accident. Okay. I get what you're saying now. Okay. Bad Bunny thinks something nefarious happened. Jeff says 3, not enough information. I don't know. Okay. That's a good point, Jeff. Good way of looking at it. Mustang says 3. I'm still not sure, Mel. I need more evidence. Okay. All right. Thank you. Maybe I should have used 3 to highlight. Do you think that maybe something happened to him and people just tried to cover it up to protect themselves? So we're going to focus on that now. I know you guys gave your position, but how many of you are willing to say, put a 4 in the chat if you think maybe something happened to where he lost his life and those around him tried to just cover it up? Let's see how many people select that category. It's okay if you want to change your position, but I just want to see where we stand. Tiggy doesn't have enough information. Okay. So Bob Mitch thinks maybe it was a cover up. Let's say, now I want to be very careful with words. We're not saying that this happened at all. We're just discussing what might have happened. So Bob Mitch thinks that maybe something happened accidental and those in his circle tried to cover it up. Okay. Tiggy feels the same way. New Jerseyan feels the same way. And also M. Wallen. Okay. Thank you very much for that. How many of you feel like he was actually left behind on the island? If you feel like he was left behind on the island, we're going to switch it up now. We're going to go back to 1. Put a 1 if you think he was left behind on the island. Put a 2 if you think he actually was on the boat headed back to the main dock. So let's see. And thank you guys for your participation. We had a great show tonight. I'm so interested in knowing what you guys think. Okay, so King feels that he was left on the island. Okay. Jeff thinks he went back on the boat. Bob Mitch thinks he went back on the boat. All right. M. Wallen thinks he went back on the boat. Wow. Motley thinks he went back on the boat. Georgina thinks he stayed on the island. Okay. Tiggy thinks that he got back on the boat. Wow. Bad Bunny thinks he got back on the boat. New Jerseyan think he got back on the boat. And the butterfly thinks he got back on the boat. Now, there's a podcaster that came out and said, well, there's a guy that was passing out narcotics on the island that day. Remember that? Have you guys heard about that? So we're going to do this, yes or no. How many of you actually think there's some truth to that statement that one podcaster who's actually been covering this case, how many of you think, or do you think, all right, yes or no, do you think there was some sort of narcotics involved based on what we've been hearing from different platforms? So yes or no, do you think so? Jeff says they just said his name too many times. Exactly, right? They said his name way too many times. I think at least earlier on in the audio, you could hear his name 3 times or 4 times. You're going to have a really hard time explaining that. All right. H2O says yes. You think with some narcotics involved? Okay. There has to be a reason why this story is starting to circulate, but we don't know why. But I find it pretty damning. King says yes. Thank you. Hey, look, I really do appreciate you guys that are hanging out tonight too. And again, if you want to hit the link and join the conversation, feel free to come up and we can chat about it. The butter says no. Okay. All right. New Jerseyan says yes. Okay. I mean, it could work along with the audio, I guess, right? R. Jeffrey says, I mean, there's rumors that narcotics were involved, but until there are facts, we'll just have to wait and see. That's a good way of looking at it. Okay. Godmind says, cover up altercation. Okay. On the boat. Yes. Drugs and alcohol. Thank you, Godmind, for your point of view. M. Wallen says, I think they may have their own narcotics, like all teens can, allegedly. That's interesting. That's very interesting. Rigger says, a girl drowned him. Well, I haven't heard that one. That's a first for me. Bad Bunny says, Bart may have the dirtiest hands. What is that based on? Is that based on the audio? I keep hearing about that, but is there any solid evidence based on what you heard thus far that would lead you to think any particular person? That would be the big question. Empress says, I believe something happened on that island with Nolan, but it did not involve drugs. Okay. That's interesting. So you think it was nefarious. Now, here's the next question based on what Empress just said. Are you trying to, is there anybody here? You could put a 10 in the chat if you think so. Are you guys trying to connect the autopsy missing neck to the audio? How many people here are doing that? Put a 10 if so, put 11 if not. Let's see. Is there anybody here trying to, you feel like it's connected in some way? Let's see what you guys have to say about that. I know most of you have been here all week as we've been covering this case, so I find your answers to be important because I remember most of you have been here all week long over the last week. Okay. And welcome into you, H2O. Nice to have you here. Also, Tiggy. Thank you guys. You guys feel like it's connected? Wow. Okay. Tiggy thinks it's connected. New Jerseyan thinks that the missing neck parts, okay, has something to do with the audio. Okay. Thank you. Also, Godmind feels that way. Thank you. Thank you. Preston Spooner says the younger brother exposed how hateful they, or by saying blacks are low-life bombs. Words to that effect. I didn't hear that. Preston, you would have to perhaps send the link or just tell us where we could find that information because I haven't heard anything of the sort. Okay. All right. So for the most part, people felt like he got back on the boat and they feel like something happened to him. How many of you guys actually, and we keep using 1 and 2, but I guess we'll try to use yes and no for the sake of time right now. How many of you guys actually feel like the kids receive coaching from adults? Yes or no? How many of you feel that the kids receive coaching from the adults or from some adults? I hear that all the time. Thank you, Asia. How many of you feel that way? Okay, Bob feels yes, yes, okay. Motley, yes. H2O, yes. Okay. New Jerseyan, yes. Godmind, yes. Wow. Preston says it was an interview that I watched the other night on YouTube. I won't be able to show the site. Okay, I understand. I'll try to look for it. So I'm going to have to go back and star your message. Hold on 1 second, and I'll try to find it. If I can find it, I'll add it to the show tomorrow night. So let's see here. All right. Thank you, Preston. I'll try to look that up. Okay. So M. Wallen says yes. The kids had coaching. King says yes. That's a fact. Okay, no doubt about it. Georgina says yes. Wow. I think they had coaching. Perhaps that's why they lawyered up. You think that wasn't their ideas? Okay, thank you very much. I really do appreciate it. How many of you feel like this case? Put a one in the chat. If you think it's going to lead to charges, put a two if no. One if you think it's going to lead to charges, two if no. Let's see what you guys have to say. Thank you, Jeff. Jeff says hit the likes. Thank you, thank you. Mel's the hardest working. Okay, DJ Genesis says, who do you think is behind the give, send, go for the legal fund? Definitely the adults. Preston says, DJ Genesis, nice to have you here. Hit the link if you want to come up. Maybe I didn't even let me make sure. Okay, guys, I dropped the link again. If you want to come up and join the discussion, feel free to do so. But tonight is just poll night because we covered so much information over the week. I'm starting to see how you guys feel collectively. And I think that tells us we have like our own little jury here. Okay, Tiggy says no during the CTO call, but yes for afterwards. Okay, I get it. All right, we have a guest coming up. Shout out to you. We have DJ Genesis in the building. How are you? I can't hear you if you're there. Genesis, are you muted? Okay, we can't hear you. If you're there, we can't hear you. Try to come back in if you can. All right. Let's see here. Hopefully, she can come back in and we'll be able to hear her. Okay, the Butterfly Garden says no. Okay, thank you. New Jerseyan says hit the thumbs up and the hearts. That's very important. Thank you. Hit the hearts. Bob says two or no. H2O says yes. Okay, wow. DJ Genesis says no. Genesis, try to hit the link again. Come back in. We couldn't hear you. Godmind says yes. Okay. New Jerseyan is two. Okay, or no. Asia one. Okay. Okay. Motley says yes. Going to take long steps. Thank you for your comment. And here's the link, guys, if you want to come up and have the discussion. Emperor says there was most definitely adults involved in the entire cover up. All right. So you feel like it was a cover up. Okay. We have Genesis back. All
Sorry
right. I
about
can
that.
hear
Can
you.
you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Man, I thought it was crazy that they raised that much money that quick. And I mean, have they even been indicted? Like they're just raising money just in case?
Yeah. I think they raised money for, I hear a background. Okay. I think they raised the money for this attorney, probably the one that stepped up to say he would be, charging those defamation cases. Did you hear about that?
No, what was the defamation case?
I don't know. Some attorney came forward and said, "Listen, I'll cover you guys pro bono if you feel like you're being defamed by these YouTubers and all sorts of people."
Oh, so they're gonna like try to like use that as like a thing to like try to silence people.
Yeah. Well, I mean, listen, we're starting to see that a lot in all these different cases. So much money is being raised from every different angle. People are raising money whenever they have a. Basically, it seems like when it's a case that goes viral.
So when a person has a give send go, they can only give the money to their lawyer. They can't get it themselves, can they?
You know what? I'd have to research it. I'd have to
I
research.
think give send
I've
go
heard
you
that.
have to it has to go to the lawyer or something like that with these cases. So that's interesting.
Right. Very interesting to say the least. I mean, listen, there's people that find a way to work a deal, though. So you have to remember that, too.
Did you get to see the Brandon Tatum Jubilee? One
No,
conservative against a bunch of liberal or black liberals or something like that?
I saw that a little bit tonight. I said I'd probably watch it later on. I didn't get a
Yeah,
chance
I
to
wanted
watch
to
it.
like talk about that because man, it's like Brandon Tatum. He did so bad with the Nancy Grace thing. I guess he was trying to redeem himself with Jubilee, and honey, he looked like a fool up there. Everything he tried to fact check, everything he said, the fact checks was like, nope, nope, nope. Like he has no idea what's going on, and he's just so stuck on his way of thinking and his talking points. He just seems completely delusional.
Do you have an example?
I can't. Give me a second. Let me show it. Hold on.
Oh, okay, good. Thank you. All right, so I'm going to keep going while she pulls that up. Just let me know when you're ready, Genesis, and we'll get going. All right, Emperor says yes. Mustang says, I need to know, was he dead before he ended up in the water, or did he really drown? That's a good question, Mustang. Thank you very much. That's a good question. Here's the thing, right? And it's a very touchy subject. And again, we don't want to accuse anybody of anything. But if he was really on that boat, you know what that means. I mean, that means that this case is going to really blow up. But again, we don't know until we know, I guess, right? So, all right, Bob says no, because they won't be able to prove anything as long as the boys stay quiet. That's the best comment of the year. That's what I was saying tonight in the earlier show. I think that's where this case is going to die down at, right? Especially from the fact that everybody has lawyered up for the most part. King says, because of the girl, Nolan was choked out like the game kids play. All right, because of the girl. So you're saying one of the guys did that? King, you would have to tell me who. All right, go ahead, Genesis.
Well, it is Jubilee, so just know that I don't know. We are playing Jubilee, so Jubilee does.
Well, just tell me what it is then.
Right. So maybe you could just play the audio. Don't play the video. Have it up, but then just cover it up and just play the audio.
Yeah, how would I cover it though?
You would just put our pictures over it, like you would like do the like have it in the background.
Actually, how about you play it from your end and you do that?
How do I if I play it and then you just cover it, let's see if you can hear it. I'm gonna play it.
I mean, I can go down the list, and I think that lowering taxes and all the other benefits that Americans get is also beneficial to Black people.
Can you hear it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I'm about to play it. I'm gonna play.
So many videos. I've heard these talking points before, and I actually looked into all of these. And
Let me ask the audience. Can you get, hold on one second.
actually affected just the Black community.
We can't hear it that loud. Can you guys hear what she's playing? Put a 1 in the chat if you could hear. No, they can't hear it.
Okay. I think you have to kind of bring it up, but then cover it over with our faces, type like do a covering. Like what's the thing? Like a. Okay, now cover it with our faces. Put a thing over it. Like make
Okay.
our images bigger. Like there we go.
All right.
All right, so because this got ridiculously. I mean, like the actual when it came down to the fact checks, it was crazy. Like I'll just play a little bit of it.
People that Republicans implement.
Trump this year intentionally got rid of the disparate impact analysis. So what the disparate impact analysis does is that it analyzes laws that were made neutrally,
Hold on one
policies that
second.
were intended to be neutral, to make sure that they're
Go ahead.
Okay. Can you guys hear that? Put a 1 in the chat if you could hear it okay. Put a 1 in the chat if you could hear it. Yeah, they could hear it. Okay, let it play. Thanks.
there were not any racial disparities as an effect of that policy, right? Accidentally. So Trump has removed the protection for the disparate impact analysis. So we don't know if the policies that we're enacting are disproportionately hurting the Black community or not.
That doesn't make any sense. Any policy.
It doesn't make any sense. I agree.
No, what
It's a
you're
bad
saying
idea.
does not make any sense because the policies that are implemented,
Yes.
the majority of the ones that are in Congress are agreed upon by the House and the Senate,
Right.
Democrats and Republicans.
Yes.
And so with that being said, there's Black people represented. There's
Yes.
all kind
Well,
of people
that's the
represented
point.
in creating our laws and
I know, but
policies.
that's the point.
So
But
So you have another one you're gonna play too, or
No, I was talking. He interrupts, like he doesn't even let people get their words out. It's crazy. So as you can see, he's talking over her. The next guy comes up. Let me play a little bit of him.
They were
Who
historic.
was the radical Republican
They
faction?
they were a segment of the Republican Party.
Who?
That
Name one.
Thaddeus Stevens. He's an example. They are the ones who created the Freedmen's Bureau, which was designed to assimilate ex-slaves into the national citizenry. After they left, the Republican Party constructed an oligarchy, which we called the Gilded Age, and in which we saw the fate of black people decline. Black home ownership decline. Black voting decline.
I hope they fact check you on
all
this.
of that.
They fact checked him, right? And it said the radical Republicans were a faction of the Republican Party during the Civil War and Reconstruction, committed to abolishing slavery and securing civil and political rights, including voting rights. For black men, they did not disappear in 1868, although their influence declined during the early 1870s. Some remained active into the mid 1870s. So every time he says it needs to be a fact check, the person that is actually debating him is right. And
Really?
then he
Wow.
begins to debate over top of them and like to overtalk the person to where they can't even get their watch how it goes. Watch.
The Republicans unanimously voted.
No, not after that.
The Republicans unanimously voted for the 13th, 14th, and 15th
Yes,
Amendment.
under the leadership of the radical Republicans, and they
the
were
Republicans
progressives.
unanimously voted for the Civil Rights
Yes,
Act.
and then after the radical Republicans left, they stopped doing that.
When did the radical Republicans leave? You saying the radical Republicans?
1868, the last person
1860,
died.
that's
Yes.
not true.
It is 100.
This guy's a history teacher, guys.
wow.
The guy's he knows what he's talking about, bro. And then there's a fact check right beside him that's like he's telling the truth. So every time someone came up and told the truth about something, he's like, no, it's wrong. It was crazy. I was like, man. And then when it got into policing, he was talking about that he's a police officer and he knows and this, that, the other. And he would say, oh, you guys are giving anecdotal evidence about stuff, but then he gives anecdotal. It's just crazy. Like this whole Jubilee was just mind blowing. Watch this.
Good in the black community than harm.
All right, if you would like to be the next debater,
So it was like, do police do more good in the black community than harm? So then someone comes
get
up.
to the chair in 3, 2, 1.
I want to hear why you think that police do more good in the black communities than harm.
Well, when you look at the functionality of law enforcement, meaning that the people who perpetuate crime in the black community are arrested by law enforcement officers, removing them from the community, removing the predators, the drug dealers, and all of that from the community, which is a good thing. And I cannot name other things that are harmful that outweigh all of the good that the police officers do.
How did the police first come about?
But you be more
Slave
detailed
patrol.
than that.
The slave
That's
patrol,
not true.
yeah, it's
The police.
literally
That's
true.
two different
Fact check it.
functionalities.
Boom, fact check. Slave patrol. Look, they
I
are
could have told
cooking
him that
him.
one.
Look, slave patrols were a foundational precursor to policing in the South. It was like, no matter what they said, he's like, no, that's not true. Fact check, bing, true. Like, I don't know if they get to see the fact check while they're doing this debate, but honey, every time he said do a fact check, he was wrong. It was crazy. You have to go watch it. It was the most mind-boggling. I mean, he looked like a fool at the end of that thing. I just wanted to like bring that to you. If you get a chance to review it, I just want to play a little bit of it, and then you play it back on your own accord and like do a review of it. But man, that Jubilee probably was one of the most exciting Jubilees I've seen. Where like the whole time I was just punching the ceiling, like, oh my God.
Right. You know what though? You have to pause because I hear feedback.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that.
You know what I like about Tatum though?
What do you like
know,
about him?
I don't agree with everything, but I do agree with him on Tyler Robertson when they're trying to say all of these conspiracy theories. I think he's right on point. I think what's in court is actually potentially what really happened. I'm not with all the conspiracy theories and the second shooter and all this other stuff. What about you? Have you followed that case?
Yeah, I think that I'm not with the conspiracy theories either, but I mean, because they're getting all weird. It was an explosive that came from underneath and all kind of wild stuff. There was just a little bit too much going on. They had in order to sensation. It's almost like the JFK MLK thing. Like all the
Right.
conspiracy theories come out the woodworks when this type of thing happens.
Yeah, like in the case of JFK, they say the driver turned around and shot him, right?
Exactly, and that's what even Cat Williams said. Remember, he had his comedy show, and he said,
Yeah, I saw that.
right,
You believe that?
I don't know, but it's interesting because I think even Dick Gregory said that. I'm trying to figure out, why do comedians have the inside scoop on what happened? Dick Gregory was a comedian. Cat Williams. How do they know like the inside of everything? What is that about?
Yeah, that's right. Let's ask the audience. If you guys are following the Tyler Robinson case, do you guys feel it's a conspiracy theory, or do you think Tyler Robinson likely did this in accordance to what the court has laid out or will be laying out for his trial? Put a 1 in the chat if you think so. Put a 2 if you think it was a conspiracy, second shooter, or some weird explosive in his collar. Let's see if people will respond. Not everybody probably follows all of these cases, but let's see if we get a few answers. And now, Genesis, you say your position is you don't believe so, right? Genesis, you still there? Okay, so maybe she's having some technical. We don't hear you. You might be muted, okay? All right, so let's see here. Bob says yes, or Bob believes. Okay, wow. Godmind says 2.
I'm sorry. What was the question? I had to step away for a second.
So, what is your official position on Tyler Robinson? You think he did it? Actually, the question should be on Charlie Kirk. Do you think Tyler Robinson did it? It was straight up, or do you think it was a conspiracy theory with the Israel and all this other stuff?
You know what? Candace does make a pretty interesting argument, you know, but then it gets kind of weird. She kind of goes off the deep end. So it's like right when it kind of makes sense, it doesn't, So I don't know. But was he that good of a shot? I mean, I don't know.
It was basically one shot, right?
Yeah, but
And it looked like he did it so fast.
I don't know. I mean, I would say it probably was him. He probably did do it.
Right. Okay. Bob Mitch makes a good point. Bob says he did it, but I believe it's others involved also as far as putting a battery in his back.
I
Okay.
would say that that's probably the truth. There you go. That's what
Yeah,
I would
but could they have helped him pull off such a major shot though? That's the big question. Could be
Well,
luck.
I think that there's groups out there that are really. Well, my dog is going crazy. Hold on one second. So that's what I was trying to mute out because my dog was losing it. Give me a second.
Okay. Bob says the shot was a layup for a shooter. Thank you, Bob. Preston says Kirk went against the ruling system. All right, thank you. That's a good point. A lot of people feel that way. All right, so I believe we're going to get back to Nolan. I'm going to give Genesis a few more seconds to get back before I ask a question. But I want to ask you guys this question in regards to Nolan Wells. How many of you guys actually think that we're going to actually get a favorable? No, I don't want to ask that yet. I'm sorry. I'll ask something different. How many of you guys think that this case is actually going to go to trial with someone being convicted? I'll go that route. Robert says Ben Crump having a move on another money bag. No anything on Nolan. Okay. Thank you, Robert. Robert Smith, thank you for your comment. How many of you guys think this is going to turn into a trial with someone being convicted? Now, it might not be for murder or something like that, but just a trial of any sort. What do you guys think? I think today We had some individuals that were saying that there's some maritime laws that could have been broken. Okay. Bob says 2. Okay, thank you, Bob. Okay, so more than likely, probably we won't see a trial. I'm going to give Genesis. Genesis, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here. I had to close the door. I have a question.
Go ahead.
Is P Diddy out yet?
No, he's not out.
Is he supposed to get out this month?
Officially, he's supposed to be out, I think it's January of 2028.
Oh,
But
what? Did they extend it? I thought it was supposed to be sooner than that.
no, they actually let him out sooner. He's supposed to be getting out sooner. But if I'm not mistaken, he might get out earlier because he went to Fort Dix. And when he finishes the drug program, then you're probably going to hear that he's coming home like in a hurry, probably within the next month or two. I mean, that's just based on my calculation.
And then I guess Calvin would have won that bet, would he have?
Say that one more time.
I said then Attorney Calvin would have won that bet.
Yeah,
Big
very
time, right?
likely. Very
Yeah.
likely. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Preston says, whatever the outcome, all charges will be lesser than what it should be. All right. I understand that. Emperor says P. Diddy will be released in January as of this current release date, 2027. But the thing is, with the drug program at Fort Dix, I think he gets out maybe 15 to 18 months earlier, something like that. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him. All of a sudden, you might hear that he's getting out like in a hurry. Godmind says there's too much evidence that they're going to convictions for lesser charges. Okay. Thank you for that, Godmind. Nice
So
to have you here.
what do you think will happen when he does get released? Do you think it's gonna be like people are gonna be out there cheering him on, or you think he's gonna have to hide or something? What do you think is gonna happen?
No, I think he probably go right back to, he probably won't even miss a beat. I don't think
Really?
so. No. You know why? When I covered his trial, I was there every day in the main courtroom. When I first started covering his trial and his family, at first I didn't really know his family like that. But initially, if you said something like, hey, we're rooting for you or stay strong, people would be like, hey, how could you say that to these people? They supported whatever, right? But as the trial went on and different facts came out and people saw that individuals were lying, I believe that if they had to let him walk out of there when those not guilty pleas came through, I think people would have, it was so many people just waiting to just see him and to just scream something Diddy. It was crazy out there, you know?
Someone said they're saying he has a confinement charge for fighting. He's in solitary confinement right now.
I heard he was released out of solitary confinement within the last 48 hours. Okay, so I still keep in contact with the family, so I can confirm. Robert says Diddy got into a fight. He might get it. Okay, get an extension. Okay, we'll see. Jeff says, okay. Jeff is the one that said that. Emperor says the fight he had set him back. You think it set him back?
Well, he does have to go to court. I think when you have a fight, you have to go to court. I don't know.
Possibly. But I think the drug program is going to probably position him to get out much earlier. Preston says the diddler has a confinement charge for fighting. He's in solitary. Okay. New Jersey says like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much. Robert says Diddy didn't deserve solitary. They said he was defending himself. So it is what it is. All right. Genesis, do you have anything else before we call it a night?
I have a question. Are there any new updates to Carmelo Anthony's case as far as his appeal?
Yeah. We have court August, I think it's the 18th and the 19th. So the first day they're appealing the judge. They're trying to have the judge recuse himself. And then on the second day, it's the motion for a new trial. So
Wow. Will you be here for that, or are you gonna just
yeah, I'll be there.
Oh, sweet. Okay, awesome.
Yeah, I'll definitely be attending that.
Cool, cool, cool. I think that's going to be interesting. We'll see if Jake Pauls and everybody else comes around for
It's going to
that.
be so packed out there.
You think so?
Absolutely.
Wow. Okay. Crazy.
Okay,
Well,
Preston says, I believe, or forces waiting for him so they can continue to prosper and whatever else. Okay, thank you very much for that.
one last
Um,
question. Did you see the Hunter Biden and Nick Fuentes interview?
I started watching a little bit. I have to finish it. I was traveling so much. Did you watch it all?
Yes, man. And Hunter Biden was getting with Nick Fuentes.
Really?
Oh man, Hunter Biden made Nick Fuentes look stupid as heck. I was like, man, go ahead, Hunter Biden. I don't know whether he planned on running for some kind of a office, but he's putting all his business out there. He's almost doing like a thing, like you know how Eminem put everything out there, and then the guy couldn't say anything negative about him after like rapping. Like he's pretty much I think he's on X right now. He's just being 100% candid, and the way he's kind of coming off like he's about I think he might try to run for some kind of an office, it seems to me.
Yeah. Well, that's the same thing President Trump does. He put it all out there. So, whatever you have, just bring it. It won't have much of an effect. It won't have shelf life.
He can't run for office, he has too many convictions. Is that true?
Well, the president has 34 felonies, so I would have to understand what he's saying.
Ha, there we go.
All right. Robert says mainly drugs on Hunter. Okay.
Honey,
All right.
I think he might end up to the way that he was getting with Nick Fuentes. I think that he might try to do something, run, because he sounded very political in his responses, and maybe or either he's going to do that or he's going to get into social media and become a content creator. It's something he's either going to become like that or he's going to do like some kind of like running for politics. Trust me, if you watch it, you'll see what I'm talking about.
Have you heard about this whole deal with Roland Martin?
Oh yeah, he cheated on his wife. Oh my
Oh,
god.
okay. Oh, okay. I was just
But I
wondering
had
if you
heard
heard
that
about it.
it was another scandal where there was some kind of homosexual.
Oh, I don't know about
Yeah,
it.
there was like
Yeah, I don't
that
know
came
about
that
it.
there's something where he got caught something that was a while back, but I don't know. But it's
Yeah. All
interesting.
right. So a whole lot happening right now, but thank you for tuning in with me. I really do appreciate it.
All right, talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you. All right. I want to thank you guys for tuning in tonight. It was nice to have DJ Genesis. Go check her out. Her page is DJ Genesis of Detroit. So check her out. She has good material, good information, and always on the latest curve when it comes to technology. She has the best information when you're trying to navigate through AI or anything else. Okay. All right. Preston, you're welcome. Jeff, thank you, Jeff. M. Wallen, thank you for all the support. It's so amazing to have you around. You guys are terrific. I wanted just to have tonight to hang out with my crew, my good folks. It was a really good night. M. Wallen says, I don't think he's going to run. I think he tries to protect and defend the legacy of his father's presidency. I have to check out the father. I know he's battling cancer, but I just haven't had a chance to find out more about um, former President Joe Biden. Okay. Robert Smith says, we thought Roland Martin was queer. Okay. All right, I'm not sure about that. I do know there's some things happening right now. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. New Jersey says, good night, everyone. Thank you very much for all the support. I saw someone hitting the hearts tonight. That's so amazing. That tells me I have some amazing people in the crew. And Wallace says, thank you, Mel. Mods in the chat. Okay. Godmind says, peace out. Oh, you know what? I forgot to ask you guys real quick. How many of you put a 1 in the chat if you're happy with President Trump? Put a 2 if no. Put a 3 if you're undecided. I want to see that. I forgot to ask you about Trump. How many of you are happy with President Trump? Put a 1. If not, put a 2. Or a 3 if you don't follow politics. You're just living in America. Whoa, okay, look at here. Jen says 2. not. Wow. Okay. Preston, 3. Okay. God Mind, 2. You mean we don't have one person that's happy with the president? Wow. New Jersey in 3. Okay. Bob says 2. Emperor says peace. I'm trying to figure out how to join the stream. Maybe next time. So what happens is sometimes when we have 2 streams going at the same time, you have to go through the horizontal. So there's 2 streams happening. One for the vertical for your cell phone. The other one is horizontal that goes on the laptops, computers, and also television. So you have to go into that stream, the second stream. You can access it through your phone. And once you hit the link, you could come right on. So if you can, hop right on. And Wallen says, I confess I hit the hearts because New Jersey and asks us to. Okay, thank you very much. Either way, it means a lot. Thank you, thank you. Matt says, a vote for Trump is a vote for Maxwell. Oh, interesting you're bringing up Maxwell. Maxwell will probably be home by the end of the year. I think she'll be out of there. Okay, 42 says 2. Okay, not happy about Trump. Preston says, still looking for the direction our president is heading. That's a very good point. Not sure what's going to happen with Iran. I'm more concerned about the economy and the stock market. But we'll see how this all plays out. Robert says, thanks, good show. So we don't have one person tonight that's happy with the president. I'm shocked by that. Wow. Usually we have individuals that would at least say that. So that's the first time. I want to thank you guys for tuning in tonight. We'll be back tomorrow for news at noon. We'll have our regular show tomorrow night. We're going to do a deep dive and look into Nancy Guthrie's these ransom letters, and also have a pathologist coming on the show to talk about Nolan Wells. That should be interesting. I think that's going to be Tuesday night. Preston also have an attorney coming on too. I think he's a criminal defense attorney out of Florida. He's going to be on talking about Nolan Wells. Okay, we have someone that wants to come in. I guess the show is not over, folks. We have someone joining the stream. All right, how are you?
Peace. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, cool. I got in. All right. I haven't done this in such a long time.
Oh, you made it in. I gave you good instructions.
Yeah, I was actually doing it while you were talking, but it was me putting it in the bar correctly. But peace,
Okay.
Mel, peace.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, we're talking about a whole lot here, and I came in actually right before you started talking about Nolan Wells. And I really wanted to respond to when you asked about, whether something, how did we feel about, did something happen basically on the island, on the boat? What do we feel around that? And one of the gentlemen in the chat, they did reply. They said that they think he was choked out. I'll agree to that. Okay, I have a lot of theories around what happened, the visions as well. All right. And I noticed, I looked at you when you read his actual reply to the question you asked. You took a deep swallow yourself, okay, when you read it. And I was like, oh, okay, we hitting on something, because I share the same sentiments as the young man has stated in the chat. I do believe that Nolan was choked out. Okay. This is what I believe. And I believe those boys were actually fleeing from the island. Now, I've been looking at different videos in response to really the whole logistics around the operation of the boat, different ways around the village that we talk of. I went into even looking up, there is a village called Nolan, okay, the Nolan pump. Just different aspects a lot of people aren't really talking about. But I believe what I believe wholeheartedly, and just seeing different narratives of how, others are responding to what they think happened. I believe something happened on that island and those boys had to leave, right? And then even when I think about the video itself and we listen to, the girl in the background, it even comes across to me as an afterthought conversation, the panic, the realization, or even the epiphany of, oh my God, is he dead? You know what I mean? So, when you look at it from different lens and aspects of how it is this even came about, and just notes that I don't even need to read anymore because I literally see it play out. And in terms of this young man having his life taken, do I feel like we will see a sentence or even any type of penalty thrown at these boys? I can honestly say to you, it if so, with any of the involvement, with any of the evidence, it will be the bare minimum.
Wow. So you think we won't see much come out of this at all?
As far as a sentence being served,
Right.
not very much. Like I said, it would be the bare minimum. Okay, it's not going to be um, like they done the last young boy to have taken someone's life. Okay, he won't get 35 years. That's for sure. We already know that. Um, but in terms of a sentence, money talks. Okay, your surname, your last name speaks very loud. Connections speak even louder. And we know that we're actually dealing with someone who has all the divine connections needed to be able to not have anything pent on them and to walk away. Now, will this boy's life be changed? Will these children lives be changed completely because of it? Yes. Yes. Okay. It will. So sometimes when you're thinking from really a common state of mind, you have to know that it won't always be the judge behind the desk that gives the true ruling of what will happen to these boys. So do I have faith in the judicial system when it comes to where we're talking about, and particularly with Mississippi? No, I do not. However, I do have faith that these boys will serve a sentence, but it may not be the sentence that is handed down to them by the person in the robe with the gavel.
Hmm.
They will
Wow.
be. They will. Justice will happen, and it will definitely play out, and it won't be the last time we hear the names of everyone involved. Trust and
Hmm.
believe me on that one.
Wow. That's interesting. I have a different take on it, but we'll see how it all plays out, you know?
Yeah, I mean that's really all we can do. But I know that this was no accident. Okay, the disregard, the disrespect, the disconnect to even just humanity, the at the level that is involved in even anyone being concerned. If it wasn't for the people in social media, if it wasn't for all of these, hey, let's call them Nancy Drew investigators, Scooby Doo, call them what you want to, okay? But if it wasn't for them, this would be just another dead Black boy.
Wow. Here's my take. Usually I try to stay from giving my take, but I'll tell you this. I think when Ben Crump gave the press conference for the preliminary autopsy, I think that set the stage for basically the grand jury to be a formality. And I think by the time all that plays out, this case is going to be dead as a wedge. That's what I see. But I could be wrong.
Well, yeah, I mean, pretty much that's what I said. It's their boys are not going to get any type of time. They will pay for it, definitely. Because I mean, that's just how things work. How they'll pay for it won't necessarily be by the man in the robe, is what I'm saying. But I know that, you know, proven different cases, and it's a trip because on my timeline, all of these old Mississippi movies have been coming up with some of our legendary actors that are no longer here. And just, I mean, even watching them, and I'm talking about further back than Mississippi Burning. I'm talking about old movies, black and white, you know, really giving you the truth of what it is, what it was, and what it still has remembrance of till this day. And we see that in live time. We see that in the 3D. Now, will the court system, give everybody what they want to see as far as justice is concerned? I don't bet, I wouldn't bet my neighbor's house, okay, on that one, all right, let alone my own. But I do know that justice will be served when it comes to those boys. Um, you know, I don't care if it's a secret that they got to keep till they're old and gray. It will be revealed. It will be revealed. It will come out. And we've seen it before. It's just like Emmett Till, the lady really having to come to truth. I'm telling you, lies and indecency and murder in itself is something that always comes to light. And I don't care if after somebody is gone, the truth always comes out. So I do, if anything, I more so associate with his mother, the father, just the pain of losing your child and then having to go through all of this with the social media. I mean, this has really caused a uproar. I mean, to every aspect of what you could think of. I mean, if you could think of a tragedy and think of everything that is attached to it in regards to what is taking place in these parents' lives, it is a true catastrophe that's happened to these individuals. All of them, okay? You worry about their children. I mean, if you go that deep, if you think that deep, if you're connected as a mother and you have other children around you, they have so much that they could literally be focusing in on, but they're forced to, pretty much stay focused on the very thing that they're trying to really just get a break from and have a sense of healing. And when you have others that are looking for justice right along with you, you can't fail yourself, let alone what everybody else is giving you the support to seek, which is justice. I truly believe this is what every one of us wants. Um, and it doesn't care what it is. This is why, to me, it wouldn't matter if he was drunk as a skunk or, if he was high as a lullaby. It doesn't matter to me. What matters to, I believe, everyone is justice be served. And the only people that does not matter to is those who are used to avoiding what it is that they should be held
Right.
accountable for.
Right. Let me tell you one thing that I've learned. I cover a lot of these cases, right?
Yes.
There's this whole thing about the court of public opinion. And I'm just going to say it. A lot of people are not going to be happy with what I'm going to say, but the disdain for Ben Crump is so huge that people will band together to make sure that there's nothing that comes out of this. And because of how this case has developed so far, the case is already losing in public. I'm not talking just about in the black community or whatever minorities. I'm talking about when you look at it, people are so over this case and on a grand scale. And then you look at the mainstream media, they're bringing on specialists to say, we listened to the audio, there's nothing there. You say, hey, did you hear a girl say, is he dead? No, I didn't hear that at all. These are people that go to court and give testimonies at the highest level, and they're on Fox, they're on Law and Crime, they're on the big networks, right? So that tells you right there that this is not going that far, unfortunately. I mean, it could
Yes.
happen, but I'm struggling with it right now. You mentioned Al Sharpton and Ben Crump, people that would have normally say, okay, let's investigate this. It's almost like they say, oh, we gotta ride for our team because these guys are grifters. That's all you hear. That's a bad thing, that people are no longer focused on Nolan. It's become more of a battle between the teams. You know what I mean?
I totally agree. And I was the first one to say in one of your earlier lives, in the chat, that I am not a fan of Crump. Okay. I am not. I like him just as much as I like Trump. Okay. And that's absolutely, I'm I'm not impressed by either one of them in no form or fashion, right? However, I do, and I said this, I wish the upcoming lawyers that are looking to make a name, okay, at least to have a big case. There's some really intelligent lawyers and other teams, all right, that could have taken this case on. But when you have a high profile, it's like seeing gold over silver. People like
Yeah.
to pick the shiny things, when not all the time does the shiny work in your favor. And I see Crump as the shiny thing, okay, in regards to this case, right? And picking the shiny thing brought too much glitz and glam to everything. So everybody feels like, oh yeah, now it's some type of Hollywood, movie or something because he is involved in it. I personally I would not have chosen him. Okay, he's pro bono, whatever. People are, raising money. Crump is going to get paid, this, that, and another. I get it, but it's not even a money factor to me. Is I wish that they had another legal team. I didn't like the way the team looked in general, not just Crump, okay? And I'm a really good judge of character, okay? Needless to say, I looked at that team and I said, oh, nah. I said, they look weak. That's exactly what I said. Because
Mm.
they do. The team itself. And it's because you cannot keep applying the same method to a whole nother situation. What really, and being a mother, what really pissed me off, even more so than just things that I've seen, in other cases, is when he was at the funeral and he wanted people to chant Nolan Lives Matter. No, we are not rehashing the Black Lives Matter. We are not doing that here. And it told me a lot about his mindset, his mind frame. Yes, Nolan Lives Matter, but this is not that matter, if you dig what I'm saying. So to see him go that route and nobody chanted it. It was silence. It was crickets when he done that. Okay. And it was because it was not relatable. This was something completely different. And you can't keep applying the same methods, like I said. And this is why people who don't like him don't like him. Is because everything can't have the same hype behind it, whether we're talking about Brianna, whether we're talking about Mike, whether we're talking about any, Black life, young or old, that has been taken, Sandra, All of them. You cannot keep applying the same method. And he does that. And that's why I said I wish it was some fresh, energy out there as far as the legal team goes. I would I would even say I would even say a lawyer in particular that, I won't share his name, but I'll say he helps the rappers out. You know what I mean? But yeah, I'm not a fan of Crump, and I'll say that with passion because I just don't care for him and his technique on how he does use what they call race baiting. All right. And when you have people that come across like that,
Mhm.
then it influences others to say, look, this is exactly what he's doing. Look at him. And yeah, yeah, I've said what I
How
said.
how would you say he used race baiting when it comes to Nolan?
Well, in that chant alone at his services, wanting everyone to start in unison repeating Nolan lives matters. Nolan lives matter. I mean, and he said it like 5, 6 times and nobody said a word because it's not designed for you to keep using that same technique with everybody. Don't put my child in a box with everybody else. This is a it's something personal. So don't make my personal thing your another one. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. So let me ask you this: since they had the press conference, have you noticed more conversation about Tyler Smith and Daniel Irving?
I haven't kept up with Daniel Irvin more so. I've been looking into Tyler, but no, I wouldn't even be able to just really give you a full conversation on the both of them together. I'm just really learning about that case or at least getting interested in it. I kind of flow back and forth with what it is my interest to be. And when it involves children per se, more so, I'm more attached to the cases when it involves children. Now, I first found you during the P. Diddy case, okay?
Oh, okay.
That's when I've been following you since P. Diddy because I
Oh,
liked your
wow.
mannerism. I like how calm you were around a crazy house. Okay, that place was bananas. I mean, just being out there looking at it was exciting. Um, just watching everything. I watched every day. I tuned in. If you put footage in, it's another guy that has. It's like I guess it's a music channel, but he covers footage. He was out there. You and him had very similar demeanors, and I was like, okay, there's a sense of professionalism there. And other people, just straight ratchet, out there rubbing themselves down with body oil, baby oil, and everything else. Um, you got to see people unfold, all right, and your character didn't switch up. Um, in during that time you got to see people really show who they was. You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
bam, you get an unfollow. It's like that. But when I found you, I just would listen to the things that you would talk about, and if it's a case that I'm interested in, I'll chime in. But when you started in Texas, and you were covering that case. I'm actually excited about Chris Brown's case as well. So I'm definitely going to be tapped in when you decide, when you start going to those hearings. Um, I'm really interested, and
Well,
that's
when it
how
when
that.
it comes to Chris Brown, he pled guilty a week ago. So I'm gonna be out in London in October for his sentencing. So that's it.
Mm,
So there's no
mm.
no trial. I was disappointed. I was supposed to be going out in 2 weeks, almost 3 weeks from now to London, but I guess he's facing up to 3 years. So we'll see.
Wow. Yeah, honestly felt like he was definitely going to get some time with that because it's so vicious and sad. Yeah, yeah. Well, I'd like to see the sentencing or whatever, coverage that comes out of it when it comes to him. Um, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I do think that going back to Nolan Wells, I think that we should have heard about the secondary preliminary autopsy after the first one came out. I think when the second one was read first, it set the stage, and that whole argument has been made now. And a lot of people have already made a decision, and the decision I don't think is favorable for Nolan Wells. I think whatever comes down the pipeline now, because you know what the thing is, in that reading there was no smoking gun, so it's I'm intrigued. I'll have to see what happens with it, but yeah, that's my
Yeah.
opinion.
No, I agree. I don't understand why Crump came out with any evidence to present in terms of the autopsy. Um, I would play the same game Mississippi was playing in regards to information. I don't understand why he done that. Uh, because I wouldn't have done it, okay, personally. And I'm not a defense lawyer. However, I'm just using my common sense. I'm not going to give up the game if you're going to hold back on what it is you got. All right. And I'll understand what it is. And I know that's why I say, he's like a shiny thing. He's like a Hollywood lawyer because you're doing things to please the public when the protection of whatever information you have should literally be under lock and key because no one is giving you anything in exchange. And if we're going to go to full force with any type of court proceedings or any type of hearings or anything like that, I'm not giving up the juice. I'm just not doing that. So why he chose to reveal what it is, um, the most thing that I would have done, okay, and that would have been only to put some fire up under other people's feet, is to reveal exactly what he revealed. We need all the organs back. And I would have kept it real short and sweet with that. We need all of Nolan's organs back. Give us his organs. I wouldn't explain anymore. That alone, if he would have played it that way, then look, all you got to do now is step back, you know? So,
Yeah.
uh, that's where we get into this whole Hollywood, something should have been kept sacred the same way Mississippi is keeping it sacred.
Hmm. Wow. Well, very good. Thank you for coming on and sharing your thoughts tonight. I really do appreciate it.
Oh, likewise. Thank you for having me up. And now I know how to get on StreamYard. I'll try it
Yeah.
again one day.
We'll see how this all plays out. Um, but it's gonna be a tough journey because number one, the kids have lawyered up. Unless somebody really speaks up, I don't see a lot changing. I could be wrong. Um, but from the fact of how they were asking people to come forward for the money or what have you, I think it's just a tough spot right now. But maybe there's a master plan that might turn out. I mean, listen, we still need the toxicology report and also to really see that primary autopsy, but we'll just have to see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, we have no choice, but other than that, justice for Nolan, and that's all that really matters. As a mother speaking, I just want his family to have as much peace as they can because we can't walk in their shoes, but we as humans should be able to relate to injustice. Okay, so Not all of us have that to be able to even recognize injustices because we are not used to experiencing them. But this is just another level of reality that we live in these times. These times have not gone anywhere. And for people to, and I'm not talking about the rage baiting thing. We don't need rage bait when we got pure hate and dishonesty that happens to others. The proof is in the pudding. Everything that we see is real life. So, we don't need the rage bait because it just is what it is. It still exists. The same thing that existed 100 years ago is still alive and well today. So, yeah, thank you for covering, the stories like this and really, being able to allow others to voice themselves on how they feel without being super opinionated. You got your thoughts, you hold them in, quite well. However, just wanting to see where other people are with what it is they think about the case in general. It allows people to even grieve with the family, whether you realize that or not. A lot of people are on here grieving in their own way because of the injustices that continue to happen in America alone. So I'll leave
Right.
that right there.
Well, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. We have Wayne Norman that says the smoking gun is the CETO audio isolation. The publishing of the isolation forced the authorities to investigate the call thoroughly using isolation methods. I really do understand that, Wayne. If you would like to come up and join us, all you have to do is hit the link. Just go into we have two streams going now. The second one is a horizontal. You have to click on that one to come in, unfortunately. It's a StreamYard thing. So if you're in the vertical feed, that's for your cell phone. You have to actually click out of that and go to the horizontal feed. You'll be able to come in and talk about it. Looks like you might be an attorney. Feel free if anybody wants to join the conversation. We're just talking about Nolan Wells and maybe a little bit of Karmelo Anthony and Trump, and we covered Nancy Guthrie for those that like to cover that. So anyway, I had one more question for you, but anyway, I understand you had to go, so it's okay. All right, guys. I want to thank you for tuning in. I'm going to give one moment in case Wayne wants to come in. I was going to ask you, Empress, one last question in regards to Nolan Wells, but I will catch you on the next show. Let me breeze through a few of these comments. Robert says, no evidence of anything but a drowning till evidence turns up. Exactly. That's true. But there is some work to be done trying to figure out more about this audio because I'm pretty puzzled by that audio. Also, Robert, I would love to see some proof, some solid proof that Nolan was on the island after 4:30. I think that would be powerful for me to just say, I would come back and say, listen, we have proof now that he was on the island after 4:30. But how many days have passed and we don't have that yet? We keep hearing about it. We hear about it. Well, oh, there's people. Who are these people? Everybody's quiet, right? Preston says individual interrogation is everything. Okay, thank you. Godmind says police law enforcement uses the same tactics. Yes, and I see that with Luigi Mangione trial that's coming up. I've been covering Luigi Mangione, his state and the federal case. So his trial starts in September. I will be covering that for those of you who want to tune in. Okay, so I'll be keeping you guys up to speed with his case. I think his case might be shocking. I think he might get off on some of these charges. All right, right now, there's no evidence of a crime. Okay, thank you for that. Wayne says evidence is in that call right in front of us. Now they have no other choice but to analyze it. Yeah, but if they take the same approach that we're hearing in the media, A lot of people are saying they don't hear a thing. You know what I mean? So that's the part where it gets a little tricky. If you notice in the press conference the other day, Ben Crump said he had to send it over to the DA. Like, shouldn't they already be on top of that? Or already, if it did go before the grand jury, you would imagine that would be one of the main things to have evaluated, but something just, we'll just have to see how it all pans out. Darlene says, God is still in control. Okay, thank you. Motley Bob says that Tyler Smith case should be getting massive attention. That's what I'm saying. I'm going to be talking about that case tomorrow night, by the way. Betsy says, God be the glory and find answers in the Lord. Amen. Okay, so we have some. Robert says, do we know if Nolan could swim? Yes. According to his mother, he could swim. If you could find that answer, go to the United Cajun Navy. Go to their first interview about Nolan Wells. All right. It's their first interview. Emperor says, peace. My phone disconnected. Thank you. No, thank you. I enjoyed having you on the show tonight. Curtis Gilliam, good to see you. It says, put the cuffs on. So everybody's going to start talking. Absolutely. But the way it panned out, see, if you really think about the case, remember earlier tonight, I don't know if you heard the show that I did with Calvin. And again, I want to make it very clear. Nobody has been mentioned, not one person has been mentioned as a suspect or person of interest, right? We haven't discovered anything of that sort. But I will say this. If you listen to Warren, he makes it very clear that, what's his name? Wyatt had two boats. And he said that as far as the Palm Beach, I believe, was it the Palm Beach? I think he was the one that was the cat that basically, I'd say, drove it over to the main dock, right? But after that, he said he rode with Bart. Okay. So he's framed himself in a place to where he doesn't really have to lawyer up, I would say, because he's not the captain of any boat. And when he did, remember, they don't tell you how. Okay, so Nolan stayed with so many names with Warren and Wyatt the night before. Remember that? He stayed with them. And when they got up in the morning, it seems that Wyatt and Warren went to McDonald's. Did you guys catch that? And then they don't tell you how Nolan got from uh, Fort Bayou to the dock. They just tell you that Nolan rode in on the Triton from the dock down to the island. You follow? So when you look at that story, Warren does not when he's the captain of the boat, he's steering the boat. Nolan's not on the boat with him. So there's no responsibility for Warren to make sure that Nolan came back at the end of the day. And so then they get to the dock. There's three different boats that go down. He clearly tells you that he rode with Bart. And then Wyatt had his boat. The third boat, they simply tell you that four guys went from the dock. And he keeps saying my buddy's grandfather's house. Right? So now you have three boats that went down to the dock. But no, Warren is not steering any of these boats. He's not the captain. And that's where the liability of the captain that's hangs over Wyatt and Bart. And as far as the third boat, he never really tells us who's steering that boat. So that I find that to be intriguing because wouldn't Nolan, I mean, I can't say it it's absolute. But wouldn't Nolan have hopped on? I mean, it's not like a car. You have to get on a boat to get to this dock. Okay, so when they left Fort Bayou and went to the main dock where the friend the grandfather lived, Nolan should have been probably on the boat with them, but Nolan can't speak up. A dead man can't talk, right? I'm not accusing anybody of anything, but that's how come Warren can talk, because Wyatt, Bart, and the mysterious unknown third guy who steered the third boat, they're the ones who are liable if really it's the Triton, because that's the boat that Nolan rode down on. But guess what? Wyatt, who was the captain of that boat, allegedly, guess what? He's lawyered up, so you're not going to hear from him. So they carefully position Warren in a place where he can now come and sit on the couch and tell everybody what's happening. Now, one thing I will point out in regards to this case, I thought it was intriguing. I don't know the name of the show, but they had a specialist on that's body language expert. And she pointed out something really good that was mind boggling for me. She says that when a person lies, they always use the number 3. So she pretty much said that Warren wasn't telling the truth in certain places, but truthful in others. But she says he used the word 3 o'clock. At one point, there was 3 people on the boat. He used 3 like 4 times in the discussion. And I was like, what? Oh, no. One time he used 30. What was 30 for? Oh, when they asked him about, now he said he volunteered. Yeah, we're in 31 feet of water. So she really tied the 3s together to show that usually when a person is being deceitful, 3 is that number. You know, hey, what time did you get home last night? Oh, it was 3 o'clock in the morning, whatever. See what I'm saying? So it's so much with the case, and I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But I thought it was quite amazing how they really have a good spokesman with Warren. And because Nolan never rode with Warren that day, according to what we know, not even from Fort Bayou over to the hold on one second, guys. Let me see if I can pull this up. Tonight is a different type of night. This is not a show. This is just hanging out with Mel tonight. So this is not my usual. And so we can just hang out. Okay, I hope you guys don't mind, but I'm going to show you. I'm going to take you guys to the map. But I have to be able to pull this up. So give me 1 second. I'm going to show you. I'm going to take you guys on a little tour here. If I can find this, what I'm looking for. It's not easy. I know we were supposed to end the show, but guess what? We're not ending the show. Not right now. Oh, what do you know? Look at here. I found it. All right. So give me 1 second. I'm going to give you guys a tour. Let's see. We still have some people in the building, so why not? Let's keep going. I'm going to pull this up here. Do we have any new people in that are familiar with Nancy Guthrie, by the way? Before I take this video down, if somebody wants to see it, I'll show it to you. My theory on Nancy Guthrie real quick. If you are a Nancy Guthrie fan, I would show it to you before I take this video out of here. Okay, guys, so here we have it. I want to show you this here. But I also want to show you, I want to break some things down. So I'm going to break down the morning in accordance with what Warren said. I'm sorry, guys. I put so much time into this over the weekend. I feel like I need to talk about it, get it out of my system, all right? The guy, so let's deal with Warren. Warren says that his day basically started here at Fort Bayou. Can you guys see this here? His day started here. And when you listen to him, I think he said he actually, if I have my notebook, well, look at here. I'll be damned. I got my notebook. I was taking notes, guys, so I could actually be accurate today. This is beautiful. I have my notes from this morning. I went through all these videos several times. I could tell you probably more about Warren in that day than he can tell you. So anyway, all right. So Warren, yeah. So he starts off and he said he hitched his truck to the Palm Beach, the 18-foot Palm Beach. Okay, so we're gonna zoom this in. So number one, I want to give you the overall view. Okay, this is Fort Bayou. Can you guys see my cursor right here? This is El Camino. El Camino is the address that they redacted, but if you look in, you'll be able to see pretty much here. Let's see. Remember, you know what? I don't want to show somebody's house. It's all right. I don't want to show you guys the actual house, but when you go to Officer Tatum, he actually show you the house, but I don't want to dox anybody, so I got to be careful. Anyway, I'll just say off of El Camino Road here. This is one of these houses is where they actually docked up at. Okay. So keep this in mind. But this is when they talk about the dock, it's right here. Now let me show you Horn Island. See here, this is Horn Island. And this is the west tip. This is where they were partying. And this is also where Nolan was found, right here. Somewhere on the west tip, okay? So everybody with me? So I'm going to break down what Warren was saying. I'm going to show you how conveniently this story saves him from any real headache, okay? Let me show you. So he said he woke up that morning and they went to a McDonald's. Let's see, is there a McDonald's over here somewhere? I bet you I could find a McDonald's. But Warren stayed at Wyatt's house. That's why later on that night when they couldn't find Nolan, the keys ended up being, I believe, at Wyatt's house because that's where evidently Nolan had left his car. So if he left his car there, it would make sense that he rode with Warren that morning, but Warren said that Nolan wasn't with him. It was just Wyatt. So he says that he steered the boat from right here, Fort Bayou. It was the Palm Beach, the 18-footer, and he steered it up here from this old Fort Bayou. He steered it all the way through here to right here to the house that they left from. Okay. I'm not going to point out the exact house, but if you do your homework, I was able to figure it out by doing homework, but these are real people and I don't want to dox anybody. So 3 boats left from this dock. Now, here's my point. When Warren left from here, Nolan was not with him. And this is the only point that Warren steered the boat that day from Fort Bayou all the way up here to someone's grandfather's house in this vicinity. The 3 boats left and they went all the way down through here and around here, and they came down under the bridge. I have actual video of people going under this bridge, and they came 3 boats. He said they came down and they parked beside each other. And according to him, the tide line, which Bart owned, the Palm Beach and the Triton were both owned by Wyatt's grandfather. Okay, and he said they were lined up. The tide line, the Palm Beach, and the Triton was on the end. Okay, so this is how they came down. Nolan came in on the Triton. Okay, he came in on that Triton. So here's what I want you guys to picture now. This is the point I've been trying to make. I want to make it clear. So again, Warren steers the boat in this Wyatt's Palm Beach here. But he says that when they left from this place, he rode with Bart on the tide line. So that takes him out of any type of responsibility. He was not the captain. You guys with me? So Warren wrote he so there's two boats that Wyatt is responsible for. Wyatt is only one person, so I assume that he steered the Triton. You would think that if Warren steered the Palm Beach from right here, Fort Bayou, to the dock, you would think that he would steer it down to the Horn Island. But conveniently, according to his story, now I'm not accusing him of anything, he says that he rode on the tide line with Bart, who he invited to go. So now we have to ask, all Warren says that for the Palm Beach, he said 4 guys came on the Palm Beach, but he doesn't tell you who they were. So when it comes to the responsibility of the day and being a captain and making sure that Nolan got back home, you see, because Warren did not steer the boat, and we still don't know how Nolan, if he left his car at the guy's house, I think is Wyatt's house, right? If I'm not mistaken. Then who did he ride with? Because he stayed with Warren and Wyatt the night before. How did Nolan get from Fort Bayou to the dock? You see what I'm saying? See how convenient? You can't ask him now because he's dead, right? So check this out. So now they say that Nolan rode on the Triton down here. When we get the GPS report that I'm about to show you guys real quick, it doesn't give you the GPS for all 3 boats. And we have to wonder why. Why don't we have the GPS for all 3 boats, right? So that's the whole point. So that's why now Warren can speak freely, because he wasn't a captain, at least from what we understand, of Nolan that day. Okay? Because even from the Fort Bayou to the dock, Nolan did not get on the ship with him. I find that quite intriguing, to say the least. And we don't have Nolan here. Maybe other eyewitnesses would be able to explain this a little bit better, but something seems just trying to navigate and understand that. So those 3 boats came down, and here's the thing that's so interesting about it too. I have all the footage and the videos I'm going to be breaking down tomorrow night, but you're going to be able to see how a lot of these boats are lined up. I was able to find more video that other people are not using, so that's going to be intriguing tomorrow night. That's going to be a whole different show. But basically, from what I was able to gather just by finding video online from that day, pretty much this entire island was surrounded for the most part. I mean, not completely, but on the west side, it was heavily surrounded. Sometimes I would see 3 to 4 rows of boats. And from what I could gather, the Triton that Nolan came in on, it was the furthest out, maybe row 3 or 4. So Warren was right on the money when he said that. At the end of the day, though, they say that even though the girls felt that Nolan got back on the boat with the guys say that Nolan stayed behind on this island. And there's a mysterious people that claim they saw Nolan at 6:30 that day, but we don't have anyone that has come forward with any sort of proof other than maybe word of mouth. And I find that to be interesting, but let's see how that pans out. Maybe when the authorities come forward, they'll be able to tell us, something quite different. Maybe they'll say, well, we have photos and videos of Nolan actually on the island at 5 o'clock and 5:30. Right now, the last time anyone can really account for Nolan, according to everything that we've been hearing, now not to say it's 100% solid, But the last time we hear anything about Nolan is on that audio. And the audio, a lot of people have issues with it. But I'm just telling you, his name appears to be mentioned at least 3 to 4 times. Okay? His name is mentioned 3 or 4 times. And I already broke down. See, here's the thing, guys. I want to show this to you. You see right here where it says Google? We're going to call that 2.7 miles right there. You see that? So, I showed everybody earlier today in the show I did with Calvin and also throughout last week. Most of you guys follow this channel. You know what I'm talking about. But while he's on the couch, Warren specifically says that there was so much chaos that Bart, who had the tide line, he towed them out. So in other words, he strapped them up to his boat and he pulled them out. The GPS shows us he pulled them out 2.75 miles. So at that point, Nolan is back here somewhere around this island, either in the water or maybe on land. When that audio goes out, that audio, from what I understand, I've followed a lot of people that were able to obtain this audio straight from, as they say, the horse's mouth, right? They came, officially. So they're going to have a hard time with this audio because in that audio, there are things that you can clearly hear that are very damning. But let's say if you don't hear all this other commotion that people are talking about, right? You still hear Nolan's name. So what are you going to do about that? I want you guys to tell me, what are you going to do about that? Where are all the people that like to come on when I'm doing my regular show? Where are you at? I'm ready for you tonight. Come on here and let's talk about it. All the people that are talking all this yin yang about Nolan and this and that, or race and all this stuff. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it from an educated standpoint. I'm ready for you. You can hit the link and come on in. Let's talk about it. Because I have the audio. We could pull it right up from Nancy Grace. I think she has a clear version of it. So then you would have to argue and say, well, the audio that they received, the official audio that it's somehow tampered with, is AI. But you're going to have a hard time even with that. So I'm ready for the people that want to discuss that, because in the GPS, let me go ahead and pull this up, guys. Give me 1 second. I want to pull this up for you. I have more time. So I'm here for it tonight. We can get to it. I usually don't have this much time, but tonight I'm here for it. So I want to pull this up for you. Okay, so I'm going to pull this up right now. And I want you guys I want the people that constantly try to tell me something different, I want to hear your argument. You have the time now. Let me see if anybody has anything to say. Wayne says, trust me, the authorities are now fully analyzing the audio and isolating the background sounds to determine what's being said. Okay, thank you, Wayne. Wayne, if you'd like to hit the link and come up, it would be great to have you on if you want to. Robert says the audio means nothing or something would have happened. True. Okay. Matt says they don't want the smoke. Yeah, Matt. Bob says the audio should be enough for the authorities to press those boys hard in the interrogation. But first you gotta first pull them in for some interrogation. You have to feel the need, brother. You know what I mean? You gotta have the need. And if you listen to I could pull up some of these mainstream media. They have experts on say, oh, I didn't hear a thing. No, I didn't hear a thing. There's nothing on that audio, right? How can you honestly sit there and say you don't hear anything? You know what I mean? They conveniently hear just what the guy is saying, maybe to the dispatcher. They don't hear anything about, is he dead? None of that. I couldn't trust a guy. If you tell me, I don't want to get too deep into it, and we can't say for sure. It doesn't, just because you hear that in the background doesn't mean that somebody's going to be found guilty. None of that. That's not what we're saying. But it's like, you tell a guy the sky is blue, he says, "Oh no, the sky is green." You know what I mean? It's out of control. All right, let's see what everybody has to say. Bob says the audio is the need. JP says the people of the world stand with Iran. Okay. Robert says, Wayne, wait and see nothing. Case closed. Okay. JP says, great streaming. Greetings. Shout out to you, JP. All right. We have people here from Palestine. Nice to have you here. Thank you. Thank you. Matt says, call in and stop typing Robert Smith. Okay. All right. Yeah, guys, if you want to hit the link and come in and discuss it, you can. I want to show you this real quick. For those of you who may not be familiar with it, I'm going to break this down for you, and then we're going to call it a night. So here we go. Here we go. Here we go again. Remember that song, Here We Go Again? All right. So here, I want to show you this here. You see this? I'm going to go back, okay? You see this right here? This is the actual GPS mapping of that day. And it goes to show that here's the thing. The guy named Bart told them 2.75 miles. So the question is, they were already told about 3 miles. Then they decided to get on the phone and call for a tow that they ultimately canceled. So if you told them 3 miles, why didn't you just tow them the rest of the way? But then they said at that 3-mile point that the boat was able to move as normal the rest of the way. So that boat went back to the dock after it was towed almost at 3 miles. It went to the dock. We could actually see what the boat did. I want to show you the facts.
Mississippi entity.
So right there, you see in the morning, they left at 9:56 in the morning. I think on the audio he said 10:30, but it was actually 9:56. Okay. And they left from the road that I showed you.
And it actually shows
El Camino Road, the same road I showed you. Okay.
exactly where the boat left from when it arrived at Horn Island. You're seeing, as that scrolls down on your screen there, you're seeing that.
So you can see the boat left from the region that I showed you. It came down under the bridge. See right here, this is the bridge. This is the Fort Bayou where Warren came in at right there. Okay.
July 4th, that tracking movement, the vessel reaching Horn Island around.
So it left at 9:56. It arrived at 11:14. Okay, that's very important to know that the boat arrived at 11:14 right on the tip of Horn Island, the northern western tip.
11:14 a.m. And then we also see when the boat left. Now, as we've been reporting, Nolan Wells was not on that boat, although his keys and phone were.
Okay, so I want to make a correction from her. His keys were not on the boat. His keys were actually at the friend's house. That was a mistake. At any rate, his phone was on it. She claims that Nolan was not on the boat, okay? But here you have it at 16:31, 4:31. The vessel has the name of the vessel, departs to the west tip of Horn Island. And it was towed, see that, approximately 2.75 miles before normal operation resumed. You see that? This is from CBS. This is not from Watching the World. I'm showing you guys the facts, right? So when the call is made by Wyatt to sea tow, they're actually 2.75 miles at sea. Remember, Officer Tatum said no, they were right by the shore, and that's why he couldn't have been lying there dead because there was so many people around. They were right there in the boats. No, that's not true. They were actually towed out, right? And the girl, Katie, according to her sister Gracie, they were under the impression that Nolan got back on the boat with the guys. That's I showed you guys that. I could show you again from the New York Post, right? I showed that earlier. Just go back and check it out. I don't want to keep you guys here all night. So that was at 4:31 that the boat left. It was towed 2.75 miles. When Warren called Cito, he gave them the coordinates. The coordinates is almost 3 miles out. But while Warren was sitting on the couch, Warren said that they were towed out a quarter of a mile. I can understand. Maybe he just didn't understand a quarter of a mile from 3 miles. But we have the actual GPS. Then you see here at roughly another hour, it took them about an hour, the vessel arrived at El Camino Road again. See that? Okay, now check this out. I want to show you what else. Now, this boat that had all this trouble, let me show you what else that boat did the rest
And
of the
so
day.
we see the boat then go and actually dock at a different location, then drive overland to the home of the owners of the boat. So this is new information that is all being reviewed by investigators who are.
Okay, so that boat, ultimately at the end of the day, it went right back. Remember, if you watch the video with Warren and Officer Tatum, he tells you that he came in off of Fort Bayou. At the end of the day, it appears that this boat went back the same way that they came from, pretty much, and they went back to the home in Biloxi, I believe. So the boat actually went back to its original place at the end of the day. But when we look at the actual report, that boat went back to the dock. An hour later, it goes to Fort Bayou. It goes back to the dock. So that's this boat that was flooding was moving around pretty heavy for the rest of the day. Okay. So it's important for you to be able to understand these facts. And this is right here. This is CBS News. And you can find this yourself if you really want to, understand more about this case. Okay. I'm going to show you. Let's see here. I'm going to show you this call. Now, keep this in mind. I just showed you where they were towed to, right? This is where the problem comes in for the case. So usually when I'm having my show, I get all these people that are saying things in the audience. So I figured, let's have a chat, but I can't find anybody now. I guess everybody's gone. But I would love to have each individual state your claim so we could talk about it. But here's what Nancy Grace was able to decipher as far as, now keep this in mind. They're out 3 miles almost, and we know that because Wyatt calls in the coordinates. But here's another little fact for you, for those of you who might have a hard time digesting this. In the call, I believe it's the kid. He says that he volunteers to say that they're 31 feet. You can't be 31 feet right by the shoreline. So that's another indication too. Okay. But at any rate, they're out 3 miles. Warren says that that's when the call is made to Cito after Bart told them away. Okay. So think about that. Nolan should not be discussed at all. Nolan should not be discussed at all because he should be back on the land with the girl. Okay. But notice what's being said on a boat that's 3 miles out and Nolan is nowhere to be found. Check this out. Tell me if this doesn't sound strange to you.
They thought Nolan was dead.
See there? Sure, he's dead. The girl says, is he dead? Actually, before this mail here, because I was able to enhance the audio way before everybody caught on, right? If you listen to do yourself this favor, go and find the original video. I'm going to actually post it on the community wall. I'm going to post the actual video from the local news outlet they're in Mississippi. They posted the real deal audio, but you're going to hear a guy say, "Oh shit, Nolan." That's the first thing you're going to hear that's clear. You don't need all the enhancements. Forget about all that. I want you to just be able to focus on the audio. A boy says, "Oh shit, Nolan." Then, according to Nancy Grace here, a male says, "Sure, he's dead." Then the female is so clear. She says, "Is he dead?" Okay. And then you hear the male say, "Nolan," again, right? And then there's even more. I'm going to play it for you. See? "Oh my God, Nolan, don't die." This is according to Nancy Grace right here, you know? And then you hear the dispatch from Aceto. She's talking and it goes on.
Vicky speaking. How can I help you?
Hey, we're at the west tip of Horn, and our bilge pump stopped working. We're sinking. Can y'all please come? We have a membership.
All right, of course. How far is the
Okay, says, "Wake the F up."
coming up, sir? Can you give me a description? Ankles?
What'd you say? Hey,
Yes. How far is the water coming up, sir?
it's coming up. We're just sinking. I don't know. Like we're going down now.
Now, keep in mind, this discussion is being had after they've already been towed almost 3 miles in the water. You get towed by your buddy 3 miles, right? Typically, people get towed, right, when they're by themselves. When you already have somebody towing you, you would imagine it's only a 10-mile trek. Why not just get towed the rest of the way, right? But ultimately, they never was towed. See, originally, when I saw what I just showed you guys, because I study the stuff, you know, I put a lot of time into it. That's why I know so much about it. Anyway, I saw initially they were towed almost 3 miles. I said, okay, but then on the audio, they canceled the tow. The grandfather canceled the tow. So then I started to wonder, you see, when you go back here, now again, we're not accusing anybody of it. We don't know what happened. This may have an explanation, or maybe they'll come back and say, "Oh, the guy sitting in the office, it was AI. He did it just for old time's sake." Okay. They're going to probably say AI hacked the system and did it themselves, you know, okay, whatever. So I want you guys to look at it this way, okay?
That anybody said.
Think about it this way. When you listen to what these individuals are saying, okay? And anybody, here's the link. If you want to come up and dispute me, or whatever you guys, I'm looking for the guys that's always talking all that yin yang. Here you have my undivided attention. I'm giving you the link. Come on up here and talk to me. All right? Bring it on. So anyway, I dropped the link for you. Go into the secondary horizontal chat. The show, and all you have to do is click on the link and come up. So I want you guys to pay attention to this. This is for the watchers. The way that this is being displayed on the audio that Nancy Grace and pretty much everybody has the same thing. Some people are, they interpret it differently, but it sounds like these individuals all of a sudden they discover Nolan. Okay? It sounds like they all of a sudden discover Nolan. Okay, so I want you to I'm going to give you guys a layout. So I want you to imagine this, right? And I'm not saying this is what happened, but I want you guys to understand how this sounds like it's playing out. And I want you to think about it. Some people think, oh, somebody hurt Nolan. Others are saying, well, maybe he had an overdose. All these different concepts, whatever, okay? The main point is perhaps he's on his back on a boat, okay? And all of a sudden he's discovered, according to this audio, it seems like several people are noticing Nolan all at once because the boy says, "Oh shit, Nolan." And then a guy says, "Is he dead?" Then the girl says, "Is he dead?" And you get them saying, "Wake the fuck," they're telling him to wake up, but you keep hearing them say Nolan. but they're already, according to the GPS, about 3 miles out. Okay. So it's important to get that idea. Now, Warren says that there was so much chaos by the shore that Bart basically hooked up a rope, and he's the one that pulled them from the shore out 3 miles. You guys are with me? Okay. It was only a 10-mile trek. I don't know why they stopped at 3 mile, but anyway, check this out. So imagine now they're all on a boat. So let me just show you this here really quick. I'm going to try to get through this really quick. I'm going to show you the boat. This is the alleged boat that they were on, just so you can get a general idea. So here we go.
I was given this video, and here's a video of the as they're getting towed out. Do you see Nolan on this boat whatsoever? Now, I did this so we can get context.
Okay, so I've already broken this. I've already gone through this 1,000 times, okay? But you get an idea. Let me go back a little bit. You see the boat? There's 7 individuals on the boat. You don't see the guy Warren. And when Warren is describing this to Tatum, he says that Bart came and got on our boat. But we don't see Warren on this boat at all. So now we have to question, and we're going strictly by clothing and his hat. We just don't see it matching up at all. We have to wonder why. So let me show you. You see there? This would be Warren on the far left with the orange shorts on, we assume, with the red beads on. And then you have the guy next to him. You have Nolan. And then you have the fourth guy with the blue shorts on. His blue shorts don't match any of the guys that's on the boat. Okay. His shorts don't match. It's almost as if this could be a totally different day. Now, let's get back to the argument real quick, and I'll let you guys go.
This new video is...
Okay, so here we go.
And here's a video of the actual boat.
Okay, so this boat is being towed allegedly by Bart's boat. So the question is, how come they don't show us Bart's boat? Okay, there's 7 people, and when the call is actually made to Cito, Wyatt says there's 7 people on the boat, but a guy in the background starts to count each person, and he counts up to 6. Well, we could kind of come to a conclusion and say, well, maybe he didn't include himself. You hear all of these type of debates. But one thing for sure, there's another photo. I don't know if it's true or not, but it actually shows a boat, this boat with the actual yellow string that this guy is holding. And the person that's taking this photo is taking it from another boat. You guys see that? But the question is, could Nolan have been in that boat? You see, that's what critical thinking is all about. They put out this video and they say, I mean, there's 1,000 ways of looking at this. You could say, well, you don't see Nolan because Nolan fell off the boat, if you get my drift. You see what I'm saying? There's so many ways to look at this. It takes more, but the big question is, why isn't the clothes jiving? Why isn't the clothes matching up? Because Warren should be on this boat. But guess what? We don't see Warren, right? We don't see him, right? We see, let me show you this here real quick. I don't want to keep you guys all night. But we see this. That's the hat he had on, right? That's how we assume this is the hat of that guy. But then when we look at what he wore on the couch of Officer Tatum, similar hat. You see that? Similar, right? Similar, looks like the same guy. But I don't know these guys. We could only assume, right? So he looks like this guy on the far left. But when you look at the actual boat,
do you see Nolan on this boat whatsoever?
Neither do you see Warren. You see my argument? Maybe Warren and Nolan is on the other boat. The boat that's whoever's taking this photo is taking it from another boat. You should show us that boat. Then we can come to maybe a better conclusion. Also, guess what? They said, and I think it's in the video number 4, He said water was all up in that boat. Do you see any water in that boat? You don't see water piling up in this boat at all, right? They made it seem that water was almost about to overflow at one point. I'm going to bring that out tomorrow. But look at that boat. You could actually see the floor of the boat. I'll blow it up for you tomorrow because we got to get out of here. But you should be able, if this boat is about to go down with water, you could see his knees and you could see the floor. You don't see any water in that boat. See, in an effort to try to dispel rumors and all that, people are putting out information so fast. I don't think they really cover it and pay attention to what's coming out. You see, but here's let me go back to this final conclusion. I got to get out of here. Okay, so we're gonna think about it this way. Warren says they're by the shore. There's a lot of chaos. I can show you guys right now, but I've shown you guys. For my watchers, you guys know I've shown it 5 times. You guys like, Mel, let's move on. But he says that Bart told them out 3 miles. He said a quarter of a mile, but I just showed you guys on the GPS, it's about 3 miles. Okay. Now, remember, when you listen to the audio from Nancy Grace, it sounds like these kids are stumbled across Nolan. So look, this is what I envisioned when I first heard it. It's almost like they're at the shore. And let's say Nolan is lying in the boat, whether his neck, whether he's OD, whatever happened to him, right? And all of a sudden they all walk on the boat, and then you start hearing, "Oh shit, Nolan!" And somebody says, "Oh, he's dead." The girl says, "Is he dead?" And then and then the guy says, "Oh," whatever they're saying. They're saying, "Oh, Nolan, Nolan, Nolan," this, right? That's what it sounded like. They walked off the shore on the boat. But now we know they were out 3 miles when this call went out to Sea Tow. So that's why I was asking Calvin. Now I don't know what happened, but I'm just trying to explain to you why I asked that question. So now you imagine he's being towed out by a separate boat, right? And at this point, they have to untie the boat. And somehow everybody discovers him in a different boat. That all of a sudden they see him either in a boat or in the water. I mean, for some reason, 3 miles out, they're seeing him, and all of them are responding. If this audio is real, which it appears to be, right? But they're saying together, "Oh shit, Nolan! Oh wait, Nolan, wait!" It sounds like he was in a different boat, not the boat that I just showed you. So that's why I'm saying we need to see not only just the boat, we need to see the metadata just to know that it's from the exact time, but we need to see both of those boats. They only showed us one. You follow what I'm saying? That's how you're going to have to deal with this as a critical thinking. We're not going to, at this point, there's so many people that are interested in the case. Nobody's just going to accept the fact that, oh, just show us a picture of a boat. Oh, yeah, that's it. 7 people on the boat. Then when I put the clothes up and I show you the individuals, they don't even have the same clothes on. So now you got to come up with a different story and say they changed clothes. Does this mean anything nefarious happened? Well, no, that's not what we're saying here, right? Because we're waiting on the authorities to come out and tell us what really happened. But this is just drawing out the discussion we had earlier. And I'm just giving you guys some of the background as to why we're asking the questions, because some people wanted to know, because a lot of people don't have a chance to really sit and listen to all of these interviews and really tie it all together and look at some of the arguments that are being made. So I hope you guys see what I'm saying. I hope it makes sense to you. But Nolan should not be mentioned 3 miles out. He should not be mentioned. I think that's the baseline. But yet, all of a sudden, you get all these people that discover Nolan. My argument is he was in a different boat. And when they saw him, and so what happens is, we're going to say Wyatt because this is the information that's floating. Wyatt calls Sea Tow. Okay, he calls Sea Tow according to Warren after they're towed out a quarter of a mile. So either way, Nolan is out of the picture. He calls Sea Tow. He picks up, and the phone is recording the background. Oh shit, Nolan, is he dead? Oh, he's dead. You know, Nolan, you follow what I'm saying? But Nolan is back on the island. On top of that, nobody has put out any information other than TMZ and some other networks are saying, well, there's a witness that said they saw Jesus in the year of the first century, right? Okay, we get it. Oh, there's somebody that said they saw Nolan at 6:30. At this point, we're not going to accept that because everybody wants to know what happened to Nolan. In court, in order to, Calvin explained it earlier, in order to get anything in the court, you really have to have substantiated the information. So why not? Since you guys have so much on Nolan being left behind, give us one photo. I'll be the first person to come out and tell you guys, listen, such and such network, look, here we go. We have a photo. Here's Nolan walking on the island and he's holding a lemonade. And guess what? The guys left at 4:30. Here's Nolan at 5:18. See, Nolan was on the island. We don't have that. We just have people bullshitting. That's all. They telling us anything. Oh yeah. Somebody saw him at 6:30. Who said that? Oh, Warren. You think we're gonna listen to Warren? You got to be out of your rabbit mind. We're not going to listen to anybody involved. Not to say that he's done anything wrong. We need somebody that's totally legitimate. And as much as people take photos, you would imagine that somebody has photos of Nolan on the island past 4:30. That's all we're saying. I hope I was able to. I don't normally get to break it down like this, and I'm also still looking for these guys that like to, when I'm actually having a real show, that like to come into the chat talking all that talk. So I dropped the link for you. If you have you say, oh, you're wrong, you're this, you're that, well, come up here and talk about it. Let's go. Stoic Hunter, you're one. Come on up here. Stoic, you should be number one on the list, Stoic. Come on up here. Let's talk. I've seen your comments too. Let's go. Let me make sure. Stoic, all you have to do, right, is go into the horizontal, the second stream if you're on your cell phone. But if you're on a laptop or a computer or your TV or whatever, all you have to do is click the link, all right? Okay. All right. So where are you guys at? All right. Go ahead and click the link. And you can come up and make your argument or show me the fallacy and what in the questions that we're asking. All right. I'll give you a couple more minutes, so we'll call it quits for tonight. So any of you guys that are trying to make an argument about something, here's your time. Just click the link and you can come in and we can have a discussion about it. I'm ready for it. You could be the attorney. You could be the judge. I don't care who you are. Come on in. Let's talk about it. Show me where there's a fallacy in the questions that we're asking about Nolan. Anybody coming? Where you guys at? Stoic Hunter, you should be number one. I see your comments sometime. So you're in the horizontal stream. Come on in and let's talk about it. I like to get matters worked out. If you have a good point, I'll change my position every time. So just hit the link because you're really big in the chat. Like whenever I have a show that I can't really give you attention, I see all the comments. So here you have it. You have your opportunity now. I'm giving you the floor. You can come up and say, well, listen, this is what's wrong with this analysis, or this is why that question doesn't make sense, so I have the answer. But now it's your time. Anybody that want to come, you could be the biggest and the baddest in town. Bad Leroy Brown. Come on in here. The baddest man in the whole damn town. Come on, guys. I do this every day and I see people talking all that talk. I'm giving you your opportunity. Let's go. Click on the link and come up here and let's talk about the fallacies of Nolan and Nolan was on the island or he got into the boat, whatever your position is. All right, let's see. Preston says, Warren says he been to Nolan's house plenty of times and they love his parents. Never seen. Okay, good point. All right, okay. So I guess it's too late there. Okay, I get it. I was just giving you guys an opportunity. Wayne says, if Stoic or Robert hit the link, I will. Otherwise, I'm preaching to the choir. Oh, man. Hey, I like having you guys around. I would love to have you on the show. You guys saw the Empress came up and she talked her talk. She did her walk, so don't let her outdo you tonight. Come on the show. You have some amazing arguments. Come on up here. So I guess you guys are not coming. I did this show for Stoic and some of you other guys who every day have all these claims about Nolan. So I laid out my argument, and now I'm ready for you guys to come on up here. Empress came up. She found her way. I told her, I says, go here, go there. And she popped right on in. So I'm going to give you guys 2 more minutes. I don't want to hear about it's 12 o'clock at night. I don't want to hear about you being in Africa in a sand dune. I don't want to hear none of that. I want you to come in here because you guys do this when I have my regular shows and I can't address it. You see what I'm saying? So you guys you got to come in here tonight. Come in here and get this haircut. I'm going to give you a fade tonight, both of you guys. Come in here together, by the way. No, I'm just messing with you guys. Stoic and Robert, report to the main gate and make sure you have on your Trump hat. Make sure you have on that red hat when you come in here. I'm going to give you guys a haircut tonight. Come on in here. I want to hear these arguments because you do this every day. Tomorrow when I come on News at Noon and I'll be up here just, you guys, oh, Nolan, you lying about Nolan. Oh, no. So tonight I dedicate it to you. Come on in here. New Jerseyan, line them up and send them in here. Send them in a single file line. Robert, are you related to me? You a Smith? I'll be looking for you at the family reunion. All right. I guess the guys are not coming. I guess that's it for tonight, everybody. But tomorrow you guys are going to be back in here. Oh, you spreading misinformation about Nolan. I know how this goes. I'll give you the floor. You don't even come in. Are you guys really real? That's the question. Or are you in the bot land? Are you guys bots? Oh, Lord. You guys are bots. You mean I've been up here waiting on bots all night? This is a damn shame. Well, I guess Stoic and Robert are bots. That's terrible. Come on, guys. I was believing that you guys were real. All right, so can you at least just come in for like 2 minutes? That's all. Or send the best guy you got in town. Send me your uncles or somebody that know this Nolan case and want to talk about it. Let's go. I would just love to talk to you guys. Every day I hear, they're AI? Oh, my goodness. Okay, so they're AI. All right, so I guess I'll just have to ignore it tomorrow when I come in for my show. I'll just have to ignore you guys. Oh, what did Stoic tell me the other day? Oh, you just spread misinformation. I need you to tell me what's the misinformation, first of all. That's what I want to know. Robert says it's midnight somewhere. It's midnight here almost, man. All right. Okay, well, That's it, guys. I tried. I've done everything that I can. Can I pay you guys to come in? What if I pay you? I'll give you guys $25 a head to come in. Come on in here, Stoic. That'll at least cover your lunch tomorrow. Robert Smith, where you at? Oh, okay. All right. Well, all right. I guess we don't have a debate tonight. Any other scragglers coming through that want to talk about the case or what have you? Oh, it's quiet today, man. All right, guys. Well, I didn't get any takers, I guess. Okay, yeah, Robert. I know. You know I'm just messing with you. Thanks for being here, you guys. I know you guys like the show, because you come back and you tell me what a lousy job I'm doing every day. No, I'm just messing with you guys, man. All right. Thank you guys for tuning in tonight. This was a long night. I don't typically do this. 3 hours. Oh, my goodness, man. It's probably almost a new day. All right. Thanks for tuning in. We covered Nolan, but I hope you guys get a chance to see what I'm talking about when it comes to Nolan Wells and how it just doesn't add up, right? When you look at it the way I laid it out tonight, it seems like Nolan was in a different boat, not the boat that we saw a video of. And I'm not saying that this is actually what happened. I'm just saying based on the audio could be somehow AI. It's very unlikely, but I'm just saying, I don't know. But it sounds like everybody at once discovers Nolan lying somewhere. And the girl says, is he dead? You know what I mean? This is real talk. I want to play this one time on the way out. Okay? I'm going to play this one last time. This is Nancy Grace. Oh, my. Let me, oh, boy, I took it down. Oh, no. Let me, I'm going to play this one last time. And we're going to call it a night.
None of the kids on this boat have ever admitted that anybody said that they thought Nolan was dead.
Sure, he's dead. And right before that, if you go back and listen to the video, the guy says, oh, shit, Nolan. And then this male here says, sure, he's dead. He's dead. See, you hear that female? Is he dead? They try to say he's talking about a bilge pump. Boy, I tell you, you guys got to be out of your mind. Anyway, he's talking to a bilge pump. Nolan, you see that? Oh my God, Nolan, don't die. This is 3 miles at sea. I need some of you guys to come in here tonight. I want to see what you have to say about this.
Detail assistance, Vicky speaking. How can I help you?
Hey, we're at the west tip of Horn, and our bilge pump stopped working. We're sinking. Can y'all please come? We have a membership.
Now, keep in mind, right? You saw what I should. Now, this right here is very telling. I didn't even catch this until now. You see this? He says, hey, we're at the west tip of Horn, and our bilge pump stopped working. We're sinking, right? Can y'all please come? So he says they're sinking, but remember I showed you, let me show you again for those that are having a hard time here. Hold on one second. Let me see. Let me show you again. You see right here? Remember he said it's not working, right? And they're sinking. Look at this. You see this right here? At 4:31, their boat departs the west tip of Horn Island. The vessel was towed approximately 2.7 miles before normal operation resumed. This is from the official MDMR. This is from CBS reporting this, right? So they were sinking, then all of a sudden they resumed normal operation. Does that make sense to you? And they were already 2.7 miles when they made the call. And you guys just heard what was on the call, right? Right here. You just heard what was on the call. Right here. Nolan is nowhere to be found.
Nobody has ever, none of the kids on this boat have ever admitted that anybody said that they thought Nolan was dead.
Detail assistant.
They're saying Nolan plenty of times here. Why are they saying Nolan in this call that's about 3 miles out? Somebody answer that? I guess we won't have an answer tonight. Thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you guys understand the questions that we're asking according to the information that came out. Again, we still have to see what the officials have to say about it. We can't say that anybody in particular did anything or a group of people did something without a shadow of a doubt. That's not what we're saying. We're just asking questions because a lot of the information that's being put out, it's just not lining up. It's not making sense at all, okay? Definitely not. And it's very important that we continue to ask questions, but we're not accusatory in any way. And we hopefully will get some direction from the legal department down in Mississippi. Although many people are doubtful, I have some hope that maybe in this case, there will be some revelations in regards to what happened on July the 4th. We've had a lot of amazing people here tonight. I see that, said Robbie, you don't possess the intellectual. Oh my goodness, man. Robert and Stoic, you guys are just, okay, guys, go easy on those guys. I like those guys. Have a good night, everybody. Thank you for hanging out with me. I'll try to do this at least once a month if I can, just to have a hangout night where we can chat. Maybe we can get some of these guys to come up and talk to me. And we could, if you have an issue with the concept or whatever it might be, but you're going to have a hard time because the GPS, unless you're going to say, well, the GPS is lying, or you're going to have to say, oh, that audio it's a fake audio was put out. But then you're going to have to say, well, why did the official department put out that audio? So it's going to be a hard battle for you. But we look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow at noon. And Wallen, shout out to you. I'm not sure what you are referring to, but I'm pretty sure you'll definitely tell me. New Jersey says, I really enjoyed this. Mel, good night. Okay. Empress, thank you again for coming on the show. DJ Genesis 2. Empress, you're always invited to come back on the show. And we'd love to hear from you. Matt, thanks for hanging out with me. All right. Matt says they don't want to look stupid like Tatum did. Yeah, Tatum would have a hard time. I dismantled his claims. I know his fan base don't want to hear it. You know what I mean? So it is what it is, And look at there. We got a new one here. We got a bender here. Are you an airbender? You make leaves and trees move and all that stuff. That's why you do all this tough talking, I see. Okay, Good Time says, what's in the dark comes out. Definitely. Thank you, guys. And no pun intended to anybody, just a little fun. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks for hanging out with me tonight for our little open discussion. We'll do it again pretty soon. Shout out to Preston. Thank you for hanging out with me all night, too. A lot of you guys. And also we have the attorney that was here, too. Shout out to Robert Smith and Stoic. I see we got Chris here. All right. Thank you guys very much. And let me see if I could find Wayne. That's who it is. Wayne, thank you for being here. M. Wallen, so many great people, low key. All right. Thank you very much. Have a good night, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow at noon Eastern Standard Time. Thank you.
Different voices, but the same song. Living a world where we all belong. Kindness leading the way, breaking the chains. In the symphony of love, the thing remains. Embracing diversity, brought it brighter days inside. Watching the world sharing love and light. Hearts beating as one in our peaceful flight. Colors of harmony painting the night. United we stand in love's pure might. Watching the world sharing love and light. Hearts beating as one in our peaceful flight. The colors of harmony painting the night. United we stand in love's pure might.